it's interesting because you've kind of got them like they're taking with one hand and giving with another. And the injector case, I think, is pretty busted. Now, while we're on the
So
topic, while we're on the
busted.
topic of secure containers,
Welcome to ScavTalk, an Escape from Tarkov podcast with a continuing focus on development of the game, patch note analysis, theory crafting, and general gameplay discussions. My name is Church. I'm one of your hosts. I am a video editor for a Tarkov content creator named Airwing Marine.
And I'm GigaBeef, a Tarkov YouTuber, helping you guys get better at the game. And welcome everybody back to ScavTalk. I guess this one is our real first one of 2022. I don't know why I always end up starting with this. How's your week been, Church? What's been going on? What's been going on in Churchland?
Been going good, man. Staying busy-ish. And I'm working on this new sort of layout for like Facebook and Twitter. What would you call it? I don't know. It's just like basically, shorts / adverts for Airwings, clips and
Interesting.
stuff. But it's all like the best example I can give. Have you seen Piranha TV's?
I actually haven't. No.
Clips. Okay, I sort of took inspiration from that. Actually, I did take inspiration from that. So I really liked how it looks, like the presentation of it all, and so yeah, we're doing it because they're in a weird resolution. They're like 1:1 aspect ratio, so like 18 or 1080 by 1080 or 720 by 720. Basically, how we do like the ScavTalk shorts I post on Twitter. So it's like kind of weird because you're taking a 16 by 9 and you're trying to fit it in this 1:1 frame. Then you have like these black bars at the top, so it's like you got to fill in the space. So anyway, it's pretty cool stuff. I'm enjoying that. And Tarkov has been pretty poggers, dude. I think I'm like almost level 32.
Awesome.
Yeah, trying to get that Ragman 3 because we get some better gear for sure. And I accidentally shot Santa.
Oh
This is the
no!
first time I shot Santa and I had to kill him. It was very unfortunate. I was in Underground Ollie on Interchange and I kept hearing something and I was just like, what is is it a player? Is it Scav? But it was like so odd. It was like just very small movements. So I thought like, okay, this has got to be killer. This has got to be a player. And then like I on my peripheral, I saw like a shadowy figure and I look and I scope in and I see it's a guy with a giant backpack on. So I immediately think it's a player because I'm being sneaky. So I'm thinking he's like aware of me. You know what I mean? But I thought that I caught him off guard. So I shoot him in the head. He doesn't die. And then I stare and I look. I'm like, oh my God, it's Sam. So he immediately starts shooting at me. I try to like prone. Someone else starts running. It turns out to be a scav, but it was just like, I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, I made him mad. Did I already lose fence rep? Like, I don't know. So I ended up just killing him. Because either I try to run and potentially die getting shot at, or I just kill him and take the hit. So I'm at negative 7.7 karma.
Negative 7.7.
Sorry, negative 0.7.
Oh, 0. Oh God!
Yeah.
I was going to say like that's a lot. Otherwise,
Yeah, I've been a naughty scam. No. It's kind of, it feels like a big penalty, man. Like, no, I've always kind of been like, oh, it's not that bad, Santa, blah blah blah. But like when it's really dark, it's really hard to make it out, and it's just like, oh, it's such a big penalty. But that's kind of been the highlights, if you will. Nothing too crazy, questing and whatnot, the usual suspects.
That's good. I actually saw a thread on Reddit that I just thought was really funny, and someone was talking about Santa, and they said I was on Interchange, and I saw a figure wearing the Santa outfit, and I went over, and it wasn't Santa, it was Killer, and he'd already killed Santa, and I'm next. And I was like, oh my
What?
goodness, it was like so awful. Like Killer had like killed the dude and like killed Santa, like taken the hat or something, or maybe he'd spawned with it. I don't know, but it was just the way the story was like spun. It was just like you can
Yeah.
imagine like Killer just turning up, killing Santa because he's such a mental case, and then just like wearing the stuff and just being like, who's next for the slaughter? I don't know, the mental image of it just kind of like it just made me laugh. It really did. It made me laugh. Yeah, so I
So
guess like, dude, I guess this week, yeah, this week's been kind of mental for me because we had the drop stream yesterday, which was pretty crazy. I went from 8 a.m. until 2 a.m. Yeah, 8 a.m. on Thursday till 2 a.m. Friday, my time. And as I said to you just before we started the cast, I then went to bed for 4 hours, then got up and did all my usual stuff, which is the reason why I couldn't do 24 hours because like if I went till 10 a.m., I would have been like -4 hours like late for other stuff that I needed to do. So, or -3 hours, I guess. So, I did as much as I physically could and getting by on like the bare minimum of sleep, which it was definitely worth it for the opportunity. And it was
mhm.
absolutely insane. I was kind of worried before about just like the length of it because I was like, I've had like mega gaming sessions long, honestly, long in the past now because I've just got like it's not like too many responsibilities and like we're getting old now. We're
Yeah,
getting old. You don't get a chance to just
yeah,
sit there and just play 12 hours a day and like grab a sandwich for lunch and then just carry on playing. But it's different on stream too because you're chatting with the audience or whatever. It's like you're kind of on like extra form. So I was like not quite sure exactly how that was going to work out, and I think actually it was fine. The time went by really quick, and
really.
my voice only started to like it didn't really hurt, so to speak, but I could feel myself just like getting a little bit strained after kind of like the sort
Mhm.
of 13, 14 hour mark kind of thing. So being like, okay, there's a couple of hours left, like this is actually completely fine. Like I could actually have easily done 24, I think, after doing that because I was a bit scared of like 24 before. But I was like, with a
Yeah.
couple more cups of coffee through the morning, I could have done the 24 if I'd had the chance to sleep on the Friday. So I was like, okay, this is good. This is like it's a good thing. 18 is like a nice healthy number, and yeah, I mean we kept out to like 3,700 people viewing, which I mean most people are AFK, right? But like it's still a cool
Mhm.
number, absolutely cool number, and
Yeah, for sure.
to be able to like jump in and raid somebody else who's still like who's going until the final deadline is also pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You don't get those opportunities very often, so yeah, dude, it's been awesome. I've probably played more Tarkov this week than I play in the usual month, and because like I was playing in the week
Really?
too. I didn't play the day before, on the
Mhm.
evening before because I was like I should really not, if I can
Yeah,
help it. I
I
like
get you.
tried to tidy my stash up, and I was like I'm just not going to play on the day before, and just try to be like nice and fresh, go to bed early, and be ready to
Yeah.
like power through, which I think helped. But all the other nights in the week I was playing because I finally found. Oh, when was it? It must have been on. I think it was on the Saturday stream. Did I do stream on Saturday? I think so. God, it feels like such a long time ago now. Anyway, so the last stream that I did, I actually found the flash drives that I needed to finish Skier. And so this week, I've basically just been like face planting my way through Shoreline and all of the Peacekeeper quests, just one after another. So it was like
Mhm.
did the stream and got the USBs, and then went straight into Friend from the West, just like ground through factory in one evening, killed all my 7 USECs, and then it was just like
Mhm.
shoreline, 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 mark the stuff, get the drones, the UAVs, go to shoreline, grab the thing, shoreline again,
Yeah.
again, 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 just like relentless, nonstop until I got really, really quite close. And then when we started the drop stream, I finished off I think it was the very final one in his one. I think you have to go. I can't remember which one it is. And then I had to do the cult, and then I got M8, and then I got M856A1, which was like the goal of the whole thing. So then they can use the MDR.
Yeah.
So that was the point. Although it's quite funny because of like now I'm such a higher level than I was last
Mhm.
wipe when I did the same progression because I got the flash drives really early last wipe. So I ended up with Peacekeeper um I guess it was Peacekeeper 2 with 56A1 and the MDR like really early on. So I ended up using that for ages. Problem is now I've done all these Peacekeeper quests, but I've done loads of other quests to try and get my levels up. So I now actually already have Peacekeeper 3. So it's kind of like, well, now I don't
Yeah.
really need to use the MDR anymore. So after getting to the goal of it, I'm like, oh, maybe I should rather use other guns. I don't know. So anyway, so I've played a bunch obviously because I was with the long stream and stuff, and it's been awesome. It's honestly been awesome. Like I've really enjoyed it. It's been great. And yeah, it's actually funny. Like when you play for like a extended period of time, especially after like the 2 or 3 hour mark, I was like really getting my eye in. And we did the VPOs under 25, or the bolt actions under 25 meters and stuff, and like got like a sick flick on some guy and stuff. I was like, I'm getting in the groove of
Nice.
this. It was cool. So it's been going well. It's been going well. I've enjoying it. It was a fantastic thing, and yeah, it's just like once in a blue moon opportunity to just like take a day off from life and just play games all day, which is kind of it's the dream, right?
You unlocked your British shroud.
If I could tap into 1% of Shroud's power, that would be enough. That would be enough.
Yeah. No, the drops event's really cool, man. I mean, I myself am not like too big on the actual drops themselves in
Oh, they're awful,
general.
yeah.
Like, well, even when they were like good, I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of considered it just more of like an event for streamers, I guess, and
Mm.
like the community as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's just really good marketing, in my opinion. Like, just I don't know who started it. I want to say maybe it was. I don't know. I would love to. Someone should. I'm going to look up a YouTube video. I'm sure someone's done a video on like how
How
drops
you got
got started. As
started? Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I want to say Valorant because they did drops for keys, but then I'm not sure because
That feels quite
maybe it
recent.
was right, and I think maybe it was Tarkov that started. I don't know,
Must have
dude.
been
I feel
somebody
like
else. I
Tarkov.
don't know.
Yeah, I feel like Tarkov was early on, one of the earlier ones. I don't know. Anyways,
I'm interested to
that's
look
an
it up.
interesting one.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Mm.
I do feel like that's really changed the landscape. Because like Rust, for example, they started doing drops not too long ago, and they, from what I can tell, they do drops every month, which is interesting. Like every because they do a monthly update, but they also do a drops event, and it's like certain you can farm items in the game, mostly cause I mean they're all cosmetic, but some of them are like unique, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. The whole landscape of the drops thing is super interesting because people just love free stuff, and so it's just like you can sit there and then it helps out the streamers and then it helps like the game because then you get like a huge spike in viewership, which means like basically free advertisement. And so you sell copies and sell editions and whatnot. So it's all really cool, all really good stuff. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was super cool that you got opportunity to rate someone. Like people rated you, and then you got the opportunity to rate someone else, so they get like this. It's all good vibes around. In my mind, I love it.
Yeah, it is good, and yeah, as you say, it's just like it's fun because like kind of hype the community. People are getting like huge numbers, and there's like tons of people who are just like involved and thinking about Tarkov and whatever. I was talking about it
Yeah.
with the chat while we were doing it, and I was basically like because of the way that it's done, and it's like over a period of kind of 2 weeks or whatever, and you have a different group of people each
Hmm.
time. And people
Yeah.
do kind of push on the guys who are kind of smaller. Or I know, like Tarkov Reporter was like shouting out all the affiliates, and I'm still an affiliate, right? Because I don't stream enough
Hmm.
to kind of be there like full time. Like YouTube's like 90% of my focus, so it kind of gives those people who aren't like the big streamers. It kind of gives you it gives you the opportunity to be in that top 20 for a day, and to get that influx of people because like Twitch is growth and finding, how people find people on Twitch is basically like the top 20 streamers and then that's it in that particular category. And so that's why people don't really like the Twitch system, right? Compared to something like YouTube, because it's so hard to get growth and viewership and stuff on Twitch because if you're so far down the list, no one will ever find you, and there's no mechanism to actually find anybody. But that's why the drops is kind of
Right.
cool because it's like, yeah, it gives everybody that chance to be in
Yeah.
that category for a day, and you can like be the
Yeah.
recipient of that natural flow of people coming to the Tarkov page, looking through and going, oh, yeah, this person. And people like just distribute themselves amongst those top 20 streams because they have a second reason to go there with the drops. And so it's just like it's super nice. Like, yeah, it's a great opportunity for the streamers. But yeah, as you say, it does give a good vibe for the community too. So somebody in chat saying it's the Smite and Paladins apparently who started off with drops. So I don't know.
Really
Apparently so.
interesting.
Apparently so. So
I
I have
want
to,
to. Yeah. I'll
yeah,
be
do
sure
some
to
more
look
research.
into that. Yeah. That's
um
interesting.
so yeah, I mean, I guess there's been a couple of announcements. It's not been like a crazy busy time for changes and stuff, but there have been some. I mean, the first one, the main one that I had written down was DLSS, the DLSS announcement,
Yeah.
with Nvidia coming out and talking about that. And we don't know when that's going to be. I don't think was there the proper thing for that yet? I hadn't seen it, but the last that I heard, we knew it was coming to the game, but we didn't know precisely when that was. Um,
Yeah. It says coming soon. I don't.
mm,
I because I imagine. I don't know. I thought maybe. I think CES still going on, Consumer Electronics Show, because I think that's like that. I would imagine that's where they would like reveal that the games are being supported. Yeah, I think it's still going on. Ends tomorrow, so maybe there'll be like a reveal from Nvidia, like of all the new DLS supported games. And there'll be more details.
Yeah. So it's just kind of the timeline that we're not sure about. But I'm excited about this because like Reflex is kind of cool. People have had sort of mixed reviews about Reflex. Like it works quite well for me. But other people are saying that like it makes their, I don't know, something has some funny impacts on people. This is the weird thing about Tarkov graphics and stuff. 'Cause people ask me sometimes like, "Oh, you're gonna make like a graphics card and stuff," and I'm like, "No way, man! Like I don't know
A
enough
lot.
about it to do it. Like I'm not enough of a hardware guy, and it really depends on your system. It depends on your
Right.
monitor. It depends on like what graphics card you're running. Like it really changes depending on like how your system runs. Like whether you should have VSync on or off, or reflex on, or whether you can even access it, and like what settings you need to have. Like it's a minefield, and so I just kind of avoid it really. But
Yeah.
like reflex worked quite well for me, but it's it's a very small latency thing. Like yeah, it makes a small difference, but it's not like not crazy. Whereas like DLSS, what they've been teasing, like going from what did they say, like 70 to like over 120 FPS supposedly. I mean, it sounds absurd, right? I mean, if it's even a fraction of
Well,
that, it'll be worth it. If it gives you 5
yeah.
FPS, it'll be worth it. That's the thing. Like they didn't need to go like so overboard, I don't think. I mean, maybe who it can't be right. There's no chance. There's no way it's going to be that good. There's no way.
Well, it's definitely possible.
If it is, man, honestly, if it is even if it's 20 frames, the whole community will be crying out for joy. I tell you.
It's pretty cool technology. So someone actually asked in one of our comments in one of our videos if what we think about the DLSS. And I've done pretty good amount of research. I try to stay up to date on some of the hardware stuff and from the, graphics card companies, and it's pretty cool technology. So there's what it's called is temporal scaling, which I don't know what temporal means, but essentially it takes a you take a lower resolution image, so like, you know, 1280 by 720, and it upscales it to 1920 by 1080, or whatever you want to upscale it to. But the upscaling method uses temporal scaling, which basically uses these Turing or tensor cores rather in the 20 series and 30 series graphics cards from NVIDIA. And this is an NVIDIA DLSS is a NVIDIA exclusive technology. You have to have a 20 series or 30 series graphics cards to use it, unfortunately, but it's because it does use those cores exclusive to those family of cards. But yeah, it uses like some type of AI learning upscaling. And I don't know if you got a chance to use it in the Cycle Frontier. Did you?
I did, but the cycle kind of worked anyway. I think that because it's already in like
Mm,
Unreal, right? And it that engine works pretty well. And like on 30
hmm.
series cards, they just own the cycle. So you just never have
Okay,
any like you never run like I only run in 60 FPS anyway, so I'm not running like 144. So
gotcha.
like there's just absolutely no possibility that run even at like ultra everything, like it just runs above 60 no matter what. So it I didn't play around with it too much because it didn't make any difference.
Okay. Well, see, for me, I play in 1440p now with this monitor, and I try to play an uncapped FPS. I like to get as close I can to 144 frames, so that way it matches the 144 hertz. And I was having like pretty, it wasn't really cutting it. Um, just running natively at 1440p for the cycle. So I did the DLSS thing, and it did give me a performance increase. I don't really remember what I set the resolution to like the native into the upscale,
Yeah.
but it did help for sure. It gave me more performance, more frames, and I mean there's a little bit of a issue with it's not really an issue. It's just part of the technology how it works. But there's kind of like a ghosting effect, if you will. So like
Mhm.
when you used your and the Cycle Frontier, when you use those like iron sights that had like the green or like the yellow, um, I don't know, irons or whatever, and you would move, it would have like a little bit of a ghosting effect, which I got used to, and this is like across the board of the technology, which I heard they've improved since then with their updates to it. But nonetheless, I just saw recently too. Someone took what was it called? The Death Stranding,
Mhm.
um, and they had it in like this super low resolution. Like I'm talking like 480 by like 352 or something. Like just like it just looked
Yeah,
like
yeah.
mud on the screen. And they upscaled it to 720p, and it looked absolutely amazing. Like
Really?
it's yes,
That's nuts.
and you get this. You basically don't lose. You lose some performance, but not a lot. You know what I mean? Like you get the performance of that lower resolution, basically. So like the idea is like, say you have like a 2060 graphics card, and you're playing Tarkov now in like 1080p, and maybe you get like, I don't know, I don't know, let's say like 80 frames, 90 frames. You could set it to like 720p, upscale it to 1080p, and you would get that 720p performance instead
Yeah.
of just running natively. So like the way I see it is you could potentially, like if you wanted to, you could also do like 1080p and upscale it to 4K and get that 1080p performance. I don't know if a lot of people will do that, but it's you I think when they're showing that advert and they're saying like, crazy FPS and performance, what they're really saying is like this lower FPS, this is running in 4K. This higher FPS, this is running in 4K with DLSS enabled.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's like not exactly. It's not like you're gonna cut it on and just get instant frames. It kind of depends on what. It's like it's always how you compare the two
And
and
you have to pick the right
how they
setting and
market them.
whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but nonetheless, I think it's a really cool thing. And another thing I want to talk about quickly is NVIDIA has another feature that they rolled out not too long ago called NIS. And this is, I guess it stands for NVIDIA Image Scaling. I'm not too sure. But it's open source, which means that you can use it across the board no matter what type of graphics card you have. So if you have like an AMD graphics card or a NVIDIA graphics card or whatever, which I don't know how that works specifically. I haven't looked into it, but it is open source, so you can use it. And what it does is it's basically the same thing, right? It's image, you're taking a lower resolution, you're scaling it up, but it doesn't have it's not as good as DLSS, obviously, but it still works pretty well. And I've been using it, and it's actually really impressive. So again, I'm running it 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 basically takes your native resolution, downscales it to like a weird resolution. So this is like, I don't know, maybe like I have to look at it,
One
but
of the like
it's not 14.
936s, that kind of thing, like 936 by like one of those intermediary ones people use, maybe.
Yeah, it's like it's not a common resolution. It's like in between 1080 and 1440p. So it's like this just this weird series of numbers, you know what I mean? And it upscales it to 1440p, and it uses a little bit of like image sharpening. Um and it looks really good. And I was doing some testing in offline mode, and I've been playing around with my graphics settings as well. And I got like, dude, I think I went from like 100 FPS to like 190 FPS in offline factory. So it's like almost,
Oh,
but that was multiple things. I also just like completely disabled, completely disabled. What's it called? Post FX.
Post effects.
Yeah, I've heard about this for a while, and I haven't really looked into it in a long time. But just having Post FX off, you save like for me, I save like 30 frames. Like
I
you could have
tried.
all.
I tried having
Yeah,
post
go
effects
ahead.
off, and it didn't do anything at all. Maybe I need to test it in like some more places. Maybe it depends where you are. But when I tested, I think it was on part of like Shoreline, I think, and I tested having post effects off just to see. And I did it for a little bit, and it didn't make any difference to my frames at all. I was like outside Shoreline, and I had like 75 FPS with the same, like both of them on or off. It didn't make any difference to me at all. Maybe it's because I needed to like reload. Does it make it looked different on the screen though? So I'm just like I'm really interested to see that like it made such a difference for you. I've heard other
Huh.
people talking about it too. Although other people play without post effects. Also, when I had post effects off, it looked really bad. I hated it. I
It
absolutely hated it.
does.
It's like everything's really foggy for me.
Yeah, it does look pretty bad. And well, I would say try it in a more controlled environment. Like I guess you want to get as much frames as possible so you can see most difference. The other thing too, do you play in a capped FPS? I assume not, because you said you were getting 75.
No, I play it well. It goes infinite if you have reflex on. So there's no cap when you play
Okay.
with reflex.
Gotcha. Well, let me ask you this too. Did you like actually check the box and uncheck the box?
Yeah, I
Or did
checked
you
and
turn off the
unchecked the box.
sliders? Okay.
and check the actual overall thing.
See, this is the crazy part because what I was noticing is like, okay, so I'm gonna turn everything, all the values to 0 or like, default, like saturation at 50 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I immediately cut it off, and then I just get, an extra 30 frames. Like, what? Like it's got to be busted. So, but it
Mm.
it does like this is the unfortunate thing is like let's say you want a little bit of saturation, but you don't want to use like if you do I think the clarity probably eats up the most performance. Like if you have like 0 clarity
There's
and you
one
turn it to
should.
1, I know it is the best. No, trust me, yeah. But if you turn it from like 0 to like 1, you just lose like 10 frames, at least
Mm.
from my setup. But yeah, it is clarity and like Luma Sharpen are like my 2 favorites. But for me, man, it was just like, dude, I just get way more performance just having it off. So what I do now is I have it off and then I go like when I want to play Tarkov, I turn on image scaling in my NVIDIA control panel, and then I turn on up my digital vibrance by like 15%. So you get like a little bit of that saturation, like a more saturated colors, and then I up my contrast a bit by 5%. So like the blacks are a little or the grays are a little bit blacker and whatnot, and the whites are a little bit brighter. But that's yeah, I say all that to say you should check out image what is it? NIS from NVIDIA. And because not everyone's gonna have the ability to use, I imagine like less than half of the people. That's probably being really generous, but I don't know for the Tarkov. I don't know how to like gauge Tarkov hardware
Yeah.
users. But I imagine less than half the people are able to take advantage of DLSS, which is unfortunate. But from my experience, NIS is really good. The other advantage is that at least for my system, I can't get if I run the game natively, I can't get the game to be an exclusive full screen mode. But using NIS, it basically forces the game an exclusive full screen mode, um, which is really nice. Because well, you have to run it in that for the technology to work also,
Mm.
which basically means you just get a little bit better performance and a little bit less input delay. Yeah, check out NIS. Also check out AMD's FSR. They're also going to be was it super resolution, super fidelity? I forget, but they have one where it's the same technology, but just from AMD. And they're working on making that open source as well. And because right now I think it has to be implemented by the developer, so they're working on making it just like a generic thing that can be used across the board. So check out those two technologies, and yeah, thumbs up for me. It's been like it's crazy because now I feel like when I scope in, I can actually like play the game. You know what I mean? Like before, I liked using a scope, but I hate
Yeah.
using a scope at the same time because it's just like, dude, I felt like I would get like 40 FPS, sometimes like 34 FPS. Like it just felt so bad. Now I get like 55 FPS, which is like not great, but it's closer to 60. And for me, 60 is like the bare minimum I can play a game. Like anything below 60 is just like, oh, something feels really off. So
Yeah, stuff starts feeling weird. I mean, yeah, not to go on about like hardware and settings too long, but like I have some weird issues in mine where my monitor is actually not the best monitor really, and I kind of want one that has like G Sync or FreeSync or some
mhm.
kind of sync of some sort. I need to still decide, but like on mine, if it runs at like 55 FPS, despite having NVIDIA Reflex on, and everyone's saying, oh yeah, it basically is like doing whatever, I get like weird screen tearing. I actually noticed it even on
Yeah.
like other people's like I think even like I saw it on it was either Glorious or like one of Landmarks videos or something. Like lots of people just seem to get random screen tearing in Tarkov, regardless of like what they've got, whether they should even get it or not. It seems very odd, and I do get it, but I've just kind of got used to it. I just don't really care because you only see it when you're moving really quickly. And interestingly, I guess
Right.
just because of the difference between like a recording coming out of the graphics card versus like what you see on the monitor, like it doesn't appear in the recording. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really bother me that much because I'm not that fussed when I'm actually playing. Like it's fine and I can deal with it. It's okay, and it's like completely non-existent on the gameplay recordings I have. So funny the actual recording ends up being like a slightly better quality without the
Mhm.
tearing than what I actually saw when I was playing. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I'm hyped for it. I'm probably
Yeah.
not going to mess around with it just because like I would if it wasn't coming soon. Maybe if it's going to take like a couple of months, then maybe I'll have a look at NIS or whatever. Because like I also hate scoping in. I've taken to using a lot more red dots and things as I've got more sensitive to the performance. Because as you say, when it goes down to 40 or 45 FPS, it just makes shooting people really hard. It feels kind of input delay. It's just like the whole thing just starts to feel horrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's not the best. So yeah, let's hope that this fixes everything and makes everything wonderful. We'll be playing at, over 150 FPS on every map, including Lighthouse, within the next 3 weeks. I don't think that's going to be the case, but the copium is real. The copium is real.
No, I think it's a great feature. The other thing too is Nvidia's releasing 3050 cards, which is supposed to be like the entry level,
Oh,
and potentially these will be less appealing to miners based off the specs. So potentially, so they may not be scalped as much. They probably will be scalped, but nonetheless, if you can get your hands on one of those, um, it can use the DSS feature, and you could probably get a pretty decent boost in performance, which is always great, man.
yeah.
More frames equals more gains. You know what I'm
I
saying?
guess that's the thing. Like just like having a lower performance card that accesses these technologies would be awesome.
Yes. Yep.
Indeed. And so I guess like it was the other big piece of news. So the other big piece that I had written down, there's a few things, but like the secure container changes continue. I know your favorite topic. Um, gotta get that one in there before you get to say anything about it. But I mean, look, they're continuing
the
to lock down the secure container.
the club said they'll let me back in if I do a propaganda speech.
I know you had your secure container haters card revoked, I think, after you
Yes.
softened your opinion. But yeah, so now mags and grenades are now blocked for the containers. I think this is a change that a lot of the community have wanted for a long time. We've spoken about it multiple times here, just in passing.
Yeah.
Grenades in containers, I'm kind of like sort of whatever about. Like, I think it's fine on balance. I think it's I wouldn't want them to revert it, let's put it that way, but I wasn't that bothered about it because I don't think people were like abuse is the wrong use of the word, but like using it aggressively to for benefit in a way that was not really intended and is detrimental to gameplay is the way that I would describe it. But yeah, mags. I mean, we know that mags have been bad for a long time, especially when the full auto was super meta, which maybe it not might not be so much now, but that's kind of a different conversation that we've talked about before.
Hmm.
Previously, players playing with high end stuff, high-end guns with very low recoil, with 60 rounders, two 60 rounders or three 60 rounders, but only one in the actual gun, and then just running, swapping into the rig and swapping out and cycling them through the secure container. That's what this is really to prevent. And I think it's a great change. I think pretty much everybody thinks it's a good change. I'm sure there's a small subset of people that don't like it because that's just the way of life. But I think even the guys who used it the most probably do agree that it's like not the way that it really should be played. Like just being able to keep all of your meta ammo like secure was not really the
Hmm.
intention. Like it's about the game's about risk reward and bringing in the stuff. And if you bring in the good stuff, then you risk losing the good stuff. It's not about bringing in one mag of the good stuff and that's at risk, and then everything else just is just your secure container. And by the time somebody actually kills you, you've probably had a firefight. The mag's probably half empty anyway, and there's like 15 rounds of M995 or something like late wipe, and you're like, man, that sucks. Because half the time the ammo is actually some of the most expensive part of the kit.
Yeah.
So I think it's good. I think it's good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm for this change. It's very interesting that they did this change to me, but on the topic of grenades, I think what people were doing is they were taking the impact grenades and keeping them in the container. So because those things were like sometimes valued at like 80K, which is like that's a lot of value in a single slot, dude.
Yeah.
Because you could only get them from the barter. I think it's like the raid barter, and maybe it's 2 raids or paids or whatever those that the little
Oh
red
yeah, the
spray
spray
can.
can things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, people would have them in there and like when the situation arises, just like, okay, take it out, hotkey it, throw it, kill the guy. It's like it's basically the same thing as the mags, but yeah, I think it's an interesting change because it's like, um it's I saw someone said, great, they're finally screwing over the Chaz. I'm just like, oh my god, really? Why do we always devolve? Like, they're probably just having, you know, a bit of a laugh. But it's like, why do we always have to devolve to rat? Like, come on. Like, to me, this was just clearly just a balance issue. Like, it wasn't like chat. Like, oh my god, if you had, I don't know, it's just like a min max thing. If the most valuable, like the most expensive stuff in your kit is your ammo and your mags, you know what I mean? Like if I have 60 rounders full of a Golnik, why should I not put it in my container? Like it makes zero sense to not, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a good change. It's a definitely it's like I describe it as like a nerf to PvP and also a buff to PvP, depending on which side of the equation you're on.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, and it's one of those changes that I think is good because it's a nerf to kind of high-end PvP. You know, it means people who are using the more expensive gear, more expensive ammo specifically in this particular case, will lose more money, flat out. So the cheaper rounds you bring, the less money you lose, right? And a lot of people just weren't doing that
Yeah.
at the lower levels because it just wasn't even worth doing the cycling through because the rounds just aren't that much. But it means people will actually lose a decent amount of stuff now. It's interesting the way that they're going with the secure container. It's funny because they seem to be targeting certain things. Because I think it's been spoken about in a few other places, but chat convinced me to buy a injector case, and I think they were only 600 or 700k. And it's interesting because you've kind of got them like they're taking with one hand and giving with another, and the injector case I think is pretty busted. Now, while we're on the
Yes, so
topic, while we're on the
busted.
topic of secure containers, dude, I think that thing's nuts. Like one slot, and you can
I've been
keep
wanting
all
to
your
talk about
stims.
this.
Like it's actually insane, you know. Because normally you'd pretty much
Dude.
always you'd keep, especially if you've got like EOD, you pretty much like one of your slots in your EOD container is usually a stim of some kind. Normally, like it may or may not be, but like usually people either keep like a Propitol in there, or like an ETG, or like an SJ6, or a Mule, or something. Right? People keep something in there. But now instead of and it's like having painkillers or whatever, but like now you just have this one slot item, and then it's just like a world
It's
of
a
stims appear, and it's kind
it's
of
a
interesting because like it's like okay, well we're nerfing the skill container for like mags and whatever's. We're giving you this really awesome item which now allows you to just like be a complete stim junkie, but then we haven't implemented the thing yet to deter you from using stims. So now I'm literally just injecting myself every 5 seconds. You know what I mean? It's like I want
yeah.
addiction and stuff. I think they should have added the addiction and the stims case at the same time. That would have been neat. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I think like the stims case is just like it's just crazy, crazy good at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, it's I don't know. For me, like I see as like the change for blocking secure containers and also the addition of the injector case, both like positives for like pushing the locking down the secure container thing because it's just like okay, it's like how many restrictions do we have on the secure container? You know, it's like you can't put armor, you can't put well, I think you can put some armors, which we'll just call a slip up on their part. You can't put helmets, you can't put guns, you can't put certain attachments. You can't put mags now. You can't put grenades. Like it's like the most. I think of it as like a let's say you're playing like a competitive game of Yu-Gi-Oh, like an actual competition, and instead of them being like, okay, we'll allow like this OP card, but here's like a giant list of restrictions. Like, okay, if you draw it the first turn, you can't use it. You have to put it back in the deck and shuffle it. You know, you can only have one per. You know, instead of having this
Yeah.
giant list, let's just ban the card completely because it's just so busted. That's kind of how I see the container because they have like just a giant list of restrictions. Like, we're gonna make this thing work no matter how hard we try. But anyways, the ejector case. Oh my god, dude, the thing is so busted. I was playing Shoreline. I found 4 Propitols in a single room. I'm like, well, that's 17k, 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 17k. Just like, I don't know how they didn't see this as like, I don't know, man. I could like split this so many different ways, but to me, it's effectively a secure container upgrade. Like that's literally all it is,
Pretty
and
much.
it's just so busted, man. Like honestly, I probably am not using it to its fullest value. Like I have like one mule, one SJ6, one green stem, and then one adrenaline, which I think I'm gonna like stop doing the adrenaline because it just doesn't seem Like I think it's 60 HP, like 60 healing, and like 10 recoil control skill, like maybe 10 endurance, 10 strength, but it lasts for like 60 seconds. Like it kind of just seems like it's not that great. I mean, it removes pain. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of
I
like a
mean, it
middle
is.
ground between the ETG and the Propital, right? But it's kind of like, if you want to have pain removed,
eh,
you just use the Propital. If you want to heal yourself, use the ETG. Like, why would you use it?
Yeah, it's maybe like middle ground is being too generous. It's like a baby version of both. I don't know. It is cheap, but I have noticed like the Zagustans have gone up in price off the flea market,
Mhm.
and I think that kind of makes sense because now that you can carry it in the injector case, if you get in a really bad firefight, it's like you pop the green stem, you pop the Zagustan to stop all the bleeds. Maybe you pop Propital also, and then you start repairing yourself, and then you're back to full. And by the time you finish your repairs, oh man, dude, this item is so busted. I'm sorry. And you know what's crazy? Did you know the key card holder? It can go inside a docs case.
Um,
So you have a 16 slot that opens up into another
it's
16
like it's a
slot key
literal
card.
Russian doll secure container situation
Dude,
going on.
I
That's like the
just
most
like
accurate description given
here's
this
here's
game.
gonna be the meta. You go to labs or you go to shoreline, you just fill up your injector case full of stems. Like you hit black, you just filled up full of stems. Like you just take a pistol and just I don't know, man. It just seems kind of busted. I don't even know how they would like to me. What would make more sense, at least in my mind, is you have the injector case, and let's just say it just can't go in the secure container, but you can carry it on your PMC, right? Just make it way cheaper, like super barters, and just have it's super common, it spawns commonly and all this stuff. Like just make it a very common item. So it's not like this one-time purchase that like permanently upgrades your character. You know what I mean? Just make it way more common. That way it still has value, but it's not like this, like I said, this one-time transaction type of thing. It's
Yeah.
just I honestly just I like I'm glad they did it because I think it helps showcase the container issues, but at the same time, it's just like I think it's probably not gonna get changed in this wipe. So it's probably just gonna be meta for a while. Like I think I'm gonna do 2 ETGs, maybe 2 Propitals, definitely a mule, definitely a um Zagustan, maybe 2 Zagustans, and then definitely an SJ6. And yeah, just literally that's the
This is
meta
the thing
now.
that's nuts about it, though, right? Like, it leaves you with so much space in there. You can
Yeah.
take so many stims. It's crazy, and then it's great for looting too because it's half full. You have
Oh
all the
yeah.
stims that you need, and then you can just continue to put more in there. It's a very strange thing. I think that either which way of going about it would be good. First, the one that you said, you make it like I'm in my mind, I'm thinking like you make it like 15K or something, because then it's like
Yeah.
something that you have to buy, but people who are basically playing kind of high level, they'll just buy it and that's fine, and they just have the injector case on them and just have 4 sims stacked in there or something. Or I mean, I just am amazed at the map space. I thought there was going to be like 4 or maybe like 3 or something.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like it's more interesting an item as like 2, 3, 4, that kind of range. Like 4 is maybe too many because maybe there could be 2 or something. I don't know. Maybe you have like 2 different types. I'm not sure. But like I just like given that you could just take everything and still have space to loot. There's like we've talked about this a million times, right? It's just like the general principle of make people make difficult choices. I would almost quite like a container that just has it just has 2 slots. That's it. It just has 2. And people would use that still, 2 or 3 slots. People would still use it. Like right now, it's an obvious use because
Yeah.
it's just like it's so many slots. It's crazy not to get it. But I think like yeah, 2, 3, or 4. I'm not really sure exactly where, but people would still use that and maybe not make it as expensive. But then it's like okay, well, do I want to bring stims? If I can only bring 2 stims in one slot, do I even want to do that? Or do I want to bring something else? Like I don't know, because then it's more interesting. But yeah, I think it's pretty crazy. And like yeah, the labs cards holder thing because it's really just for labs, right? Like the cards holder that goes in the docs case is just like it's just
It
it's
is, but it's
funny.
yeah, this is a weird thing because if you ever had a crazy raid where you found multiple lab cards, it's just like now they go inside the dock's case that goes inside the lab's card holder. Like I bring it on customs just in case, you know. Like maybe I find one lab's card off a boss, but if I ever find like two off a player scout, and it's like, you know, it's just
Yeah.
extra loot.
Just kind of looting. I don't mind about the card key, the key holder case as much. I don't mind it as much because it's much less like just much less useful. I think that's the thing. It's like when you're running
Yeah, the low.
labs, you end up with like a ton of cards and things, and so I
Yeah.
can kind of see it. It's fine. But it's got like very specific uses. Whereas like injector case is like it's super good. So I don't know. Maybe this is the wipe of the stims, right? This is the wipe of the junkies.
Oh,
This is
for
the minute
sure. I
just
think
constantly.
absolutely.
I don't use Augustin enough, actually. I don't even have one in there at the minute just because I forgot about it. But I
Me
should I
neither.
should have put one in there because sometimes when you're just like
I
two heavies and a light and you're like, "Ah," and your health is just like hemorrhaging away. Sometimes you just slam that in. Like it's
yeah.
never been worthwhile for me to use one before. I know some people do like them and use them and have done previously, but yeah, now that you can take one with you for free, then like why not? You know?
Right. Yeah, I can see the value because I got into a crazy fight on interchange. Like just chaos broke out. Like as soon as you come up the main entrance,
Mhm.
that little where like those barricades are at, there was just a fight going on there. I like came in like third party, and then I like rotated all the way around and killed another guy. I killed another, and then I got shot at and managed to kill that guy. And then it's like there's like bodies everywhere, but I know there's like one more. Like there's always more. You know what I mean? And there was one last guy, and he had like a SVD, and we got to this really long firefight. And I mean, I loved it because you know it wasn't like boom, you know, he just like one tapped me, you know what I mean, or like boom, I one tapped him. It was like very back and forth. It was really fun, but I used the green stem previously because I got really messed up, so that was gone. My legs were black, like one of my arms was black. I think by this time I was a chicken nugget, just head and helmet from fighting this guy. So I was bleeding, but we were like on the opposite side of each other from the wall. Like I was in one store and he was in the other store, and you know all we had to do was just walk out in the hallway and peek, and then we would see each other. Um, so I was like trying to heal, but I didn't want to like commit to the heal because I had a heavy bleed because I didn't want to get pushed. I was like, oh, I'll use an adrenaline. As soon as I popped the adrenaline, I died from a bleed
Oh,
because I guess I didn't have enough. Like I was like critically low. Like he was
yeah.
hurting too. I could hear him breathing, but if I had probably a Zagustin and an extra ETG, I probably would have been fine. But yeah, that's that topic. Like, the injector case meta, dude. I'm curious to see where where it will go because they did the mag and grenade block from containers, which is interesting. And I don't know, man. Like I almost feel like the same logic applies. Like if the logic was um let's say the logic is they're putting valuable stuff in the containers, and if they die, no one gets access to that. I remember playing Woods last swipe and getting into an early fight, a bunch of like PMCs, and I killed them all, but I was super messed up, right? It was like a team of three or something. And I already used all my heals. So I'm like, man, I got to see if these guys have heals because I'm bleeding. None of them had heals because all their heals were in their container.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, does the same logic apply there? You know, I don't know. So I don't know. It's a very interesting concept,
It is, yeah.
I
I think in
guess.
some ways is in some ways it's going to be kind of fun just to see like what people end up using because people only use like very specific selection of the stims and the rest of them they just sold. So um, it's going to be interesting to see what people use because I was thinking about some of the other ones. There's like the stim that has been it became topical for a while because of the one that I can't remember, is it like Meltdonin or something? The one that reduces all the damage by 10%.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
became topical because they had to isolate the head out and say not the head because people were like not getting headshot by like actually loads
Mhm.
of rounds because it like hit that critical threshold. Um, so I think it's gonna be interesting to see if the people do start using other ones that are more situational that you just like you bring with them. So maybe that's what we should be looking out for just to see like whether there's any kind of random uses because now people are going to be bringing more stims. They're going to be finding like other ones that are better for certain specific things, but you wouldn't bring them as a one slot. Do you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't take them in every raid, something like that. So
Yeah.
we might see new, more
But
interesting things out of stims themselves before potentially the whole situation gets nerfed a bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
Even
I see
three
what
by
you're
three,
saying.
that container is amazing.
Well, I feel like, as you mentioned, yeah, I think you're right, even 3 by 3. I would still probably use it. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, I think Zagustin has gotten a spike. I don't know if it was a fluke in the market, but it was like 30K to buy off the market, which historically it's been like the same price as you could sell it to therapists for, which is like 17 or 16K. So I do feel like Zagustin has gotten a more use because of this addition,
Makes sense. I can
and
definitely see that.
maybe yeah, and maybe we'll see some more use cases from other stems.
Yeah, exactly. Um, what else has happened? I mean, I guess like one point just to quickly touch on the VSG's basically removed loads of data from the client side, so people can't data mine anymore. They said they might do this, and they've done it. So it's like item loot chance and stuff like that. Like boss, I think you can still see boss spawnings. I think, but anyways, like it's mostly item looting chances and like where they spawn, what crates they spawn in, what maps they spawn on, and the chances for those to
Hmm.
spawn. That's all disappeared now, so people can't data mine that anymore. I mean, whether you feel, that you like that or you don't like that, it's the way. Though they've never been. Well, they've always, I should say, they've always been transparent about that. That's the way that they wanted the game to be, with the information being
Yeah,
hidden and people like circulating. I sort of get it. I do get it. They
yeah,
want
for
to see like
sure.
information circulating in rumors, whatever. Oh, we found this here, and the community does find the good spots. It's like the lockers on Interchange or whatever. Like someone finds it, and the news spreads like wildfire. Like people always
Yeah.
figure out if there's like a random spot that's like you know what? It would actually be a really interesting kind of almost social sandbox. Do you know what I mean? Like if you wanted to do
Hmm.
like some kind of experiments about like information flow and the way that information works within like populations and things, you just like put a loot spawn in and just see how long it takes people to find it. And, like when people do find it, like how quickly people then go and loot it, like how fast that information spreads. It'd actually be kind of cool to see that. I guess they sort of implicitly doing that by making the changes in watching the player base. But I'd be interested to know what analytical tools they actually have to like look at what happens. And they obviously have some just anyway, and also because they produce those stats at the end. But I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff that they could build to look at various things on their side. It'd be fascinating to get kind of that insider info for a bit just to see. But yeah, maybe we're all rats after all, just running around in this Russian sort of psychological trauma simulator, and it's just a big science experiment. Who knows?
Hey, what's up, guys? In today's YouTube video, I'm going to show you this crazy loot spawn I found on the shoreline. So it's on top of this hill in the clearing, out in the open. If you look down at the ground, you can see there's a Bitcoin. Meanwhile, from 100 meters away, Church sits with his Mosin.
And the rangefinder, just
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
No, yeah, I pretty much have a very similar opinion to what you have. I mean, it's not really fun when you can pull up the wiki and just have. I mean, I do it, but it's not really fun when you lose something. We've talked about this before. That first experience without any guides or anything, and you discovering everything is very unique. So, and I think especially for loot spawns, like this makes the most sense to me. Like I don't like, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because it's part of me would say that having everyone, having all the information there and having like equal opportunity would be like a good thing. But in the same vein, it's like also it is kind of cool to have like you found something like this crazy loot spawn on Lighthouse or whatever, and then it's like you now have that information. Like, what do you do with it?
yeah,
Knowledge is power type of things. I don't. Yeah, it's all interesting stuff. So
yeah, it's just a different style, really. It's just a different
yeah.
style. Yeah, so I think that's it. Was there anything else like news-wise? I think that was most of it. I think that was most of what actually happened in the past week because everyone's just been like drop centric and the
Right, right.
celebrations carrying on. I think is it Russian Christmas today or was it yesterday? I think it might be today. Um,
Yeah. I think it might be today as
I
well.
think
I
it might
think
be
it's
today.
ending.
And then at some point they're going to get rid of the Christmas tree and Santa. I mean, I've
Hmm.
actually not really run into. I ran into him once on Factory, but I can't even remember what I was doing. I was running around with a shotgun, and I kind of recognized him straight away somehow because I thought I was going to die, but I didn't get shot at, and it was just the way he moved. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
that's weird. And I went right up to him, and he just like didn't drop anything for me, and I was just like, God damn it, Santa. Um, And so he was like, that was the only time I'd seen him. But like, you could so easily shoot him, and so many people have. It's just kind of like now it's just kind of annoying. I just sort of want the game to go back to normal. Like, just get rid of Santa, get rid of the weird tree.
Yeah.
You know, the scabs dancing around looking at the sky. Although that said, I have had some quite fun interactions with the tree on customs because I was doing a lot of Dorms runs, Dorms 2, and doing various quests and stuff. And I actually started doing the first Vishala one just because I had to go over there anyway for I was doing the Dorms kills for Jaeger, and I was like, well, I need to kill Vishala anyway, and sometimes he spawns over there. And but him and his guards get like sucked into the tree dance as well. And I went and when I went in
Mm-hmm.
into these raids, I literally had Vishala spawn like 3 raids in a row, which was completely
Wow.
insane. And like the one
Yeah.
time I think I got killed by them, the second time I got like third partied, and then the third time did actually manage to win. But I picked up an impact grenade off some dude, and like chat was like egging me on, trying to like throw this impact grenade at the tree. I don't think it killed any of them. I was like, what is this? This is like crazy. So I think like the progressive nerfs that they've made to the impact nades definitely have made some difference. I mean, the first I actually tried it twice. The first time I took one with me, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, you're so brave!" Because I literally threw the impact nade through an unbroken window at them at the tree, and everyone was like, the chat took like a collective gasp. I was like, "Yes, I did it," and it didn't go off through the pain, which was thank God. I think because I was so
Yeah.
close, because I think there's a tiny
Yeah. Yeah.
little
Yeah.
delay, isn't there? It doesn't. If you just let go and it immediately hit something, it doesn't go off straight away. It's very, very quick. You can't. I don't think you have enough time to run, but
Mm-hmm.
you have enough time to realize that you've made a mistake. But anyway, the nade did manage to clear the window and go out. The first one was really short, and then I got killed by someone else. And then the second raid I did managed to get like quite a good throw out of it, and they all just went "Shalloo," and just like started shooting at me. I don't think I killed any of them with it, and I was like, oh, that sucks. But I guess they've got such massive health pools. I couldn't really
Yeah.
see where I was throwing it because you have to just be so careful not to aggro them. There's like they're all dancing around this tree and stuff, and I just kind of lobbed it and then just ran. Um, but yeah, there was like a third party set like guy who was like shooting at them from the outside, and I was actually inside. I went like all the way around and went through the bottom like window of 3 story where you go into that bathrooms thing if you're going through the outside window, and I managed to kill 2 of the guards and then Rashala himself on the stairs. And the other guy who's like sort of third partying my like original grenade blast, he was taking on 2 of the guards outside. And I just like scuttled in like crab like, yoinked the golden TT and was just like just like you took the car extract and disappeared. So I managed to get that quest done actually because he had the TT on him, which is very, very, very cool because sometimes that quest can be a bit annoying. It's never as bad as I think actually, but that one it's good to get done. It's nice when he has the TT because he doesn't always spawn with it, I don't think. And it's like if you kill him and he's just got like the PL or something, you're like, really? Like it's hard enough to get in and
Yeah.
kill the guards and get to a Charlemagne and then get to his body and then you
Yeah.
uncover him and it's like only a certain chance that he's even in the raid and then he doesn't have the golden TT. I feel a bit robbed by that. But yeah, it was fun. It was nice to get that one done. But like once the Christmas trees are gone, I think it'll be good. It's just kind of weird having the scavs dance around and I'm also incredibly bad at actually hitting headshots while they're dancing around in that circle. I don't know why. It's something about the circle that they do and like trying to predict that movement. I'm just like, I just cannot shoot
Yeah.
them, Church. I cannot shoot them.
Oh boy, dude, I've shot so many scavs in the head, and they just tank headshots. It's actually really that change that they did and make them
Mhm.
some scavs have more HP. It's kind of like I don't know.
They have
Let's.
like four. They still only have 40 HP on the head though at max. If I understand it correctly,
I thought it was 45.
is it
I might be
45?
remembering wrong.
I don't. I
I
actually don't
might be
remember. We're
even
gonna have to put.
remembering wrong.
We'll have to pull it up. Have to pull it up. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, I mean, sometimes scavs are super, super tanky. Maybe that's actually it's an important topic to talk about. Did we discuss this previously?
No, but before we do that, well, we did talk a little bit about scavs, but I did want to talk about the Christmas event, and I would sort of want to like commend them for what they did. Like, I'll say I'm not the biggest fan of Santa just because you lose so much rep for him, and rep is already like extremely hard to get. It feels like, anyways. Like, I don't like. I had. I'm trying to think. I don't even think I had like positive. Sorry, I don't even think I had like one whole rep, like 0.00. I think I was like 0.7 or 0.6. And now I'm like negative 0.5. And as we know, or negative 0.7, as we know, the penalties are like extremely aggressive. So I think I'm like gonna be on like a 30-minute timer, going from like 20 to 30, or maybe it's more, which like
Really?
it just yeah, like the scaling's really rough on the negative side. Like people that are at -7, they have 2 hours on their scav timer. And that also affects your scav case as well if you build it in your hideout.
Yes, which is insane.
So like I was watching Sheaf's stream and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just not gonna play like my scav is just done this wipe. Like I'm not doing the scav case, none of that stuff because it's just like, dude, you would have to play 700 raids to get it like neutral because each survive is 0.01, I
Yeah,
think,
it's
as a
so
scav.
small. It's so small.
And you have to wait 2 hours in between your raids. Like, dude, it's just like, yeah, no shot. So, I feel really bad for the people that have, like, omega negative karma. Thankfully, I have only killed Santa once. But, what I was gonna say is I liked how they did this event because, the Santa's actually pretty cool. You can drop him items and he'll drop you stuff. And the other cool part is they added quests for this event, and one of the quests is called Bad Santa, where you wear a Santa beard, a Santa hat, and a Santa backpack, and you kill PMCs. And I ran into someone who was dressed like Santa, and they shot at me, so I immediately knew that I like we kind of just like walked into each other, and we like kind of like stared at each other for a second, and then he shot first, and because there was other players around, so I kind of knew what like what's happening. I don't know if he was on Bad Santa, but I think they might have been like setting up a trap, like, "Hey, I'm Santa," and like friendly PMCs, "Oh, cool, look, it's Santa, guys!" Like trying to make an environment where it's like, "Oh yeah, we're friendly. Let your guard down." Bang, 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 bang. You know what I mean? But I was gonna say, I liked how they set it up because with VoIP and Bad Santa quests and the Santa events, you can sort of see like someone like role playing Santa and then killing you to get their quest done. Like it's kind of I think that's kind of cool how they did that. So kind of a unique quest in my opinion.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I do think that's decent. I just don't find that you don't see Santa enough. You don't see him dead enough to be able to take his stuff. It's not worth killing him. So it's like, how do you ever pose as him?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I haven't found enough stuff to actually even really start. I didn't bother with most of the Christmas quests to be honest. But
Yeah, I don't even think you can
yeah.
buy his backpack off
I
the
wish
flea
they'd be like
market.
lying around the tree or something to give you more opportunities to actually kind of do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I just don't know. I don't think enough people participated in it because it was kind of. I mean, they weren't that easy. So I feel
Right.
that potentially they could have like just enhanced the accessibility, and maybe you'd have got more of those moments because it would have. I agree, it would have been kind of cool. I can see what they were going for with the
Yeah.
setup and stuff, but I think just like the implementation was maybe just like it was just a bit too not difficult, but it was just a bit kind of unlikely for people to meet each other like running in
Yeah.
those situations. But like it makes sense. Like it's cool. I get what they're going for, and I like it.
Yep. I kudos to BSG for trying that. I think it's cool. And hopefully they can improve it in the future because I think it's sort of a unique quest, and I wish they do more of it. Speaking of quests, we'll jump back to AI in a second, but I noticed that they added tons of new Lighthouse quests, right?
Mm.
Like I have probably like 20 Lighthouse quests just waiting. I'm gonna go there real soon. Because I noticed that a lot of the barters and some non-barter items are locked behind quests now. A lot of them. Case in point, the foul is you can't purchase off Peacekeeper anymore. You have to do one of the random quests, like on Lighthouse, I think, to be able just to buy it for dollars. I'm pretty sure, anyways. Yes, there's like the big one I want to do on Lighthouse is a Ragman task, and it unlocks the tri-zip, and I
Mhm.
assume it's the purchase, not the barter. I'm pretty sure that's the case, so that's on my list. Yeah, there's even, like, mechanic barters, like the weird AKs are like they're modded, you know what I mean? Or like the SA-58s that are modded, they're locked behind a lot of this quest too. They've done this for a lot of items, like the AACP, the really good class 6 barter is locked behind the quest. So it's interesting because now it's generally it used to be mostly a level requirement and, like, some quests you do X amount of quests, you get enough rep, you're at the right level, then you get, the ragman unlock and you get all these new things or whatever. But now it's a little bit more like, okay, you got to do more quests to unlock these additional barters, So it's like there's a prepper task. I don't remember which one, but if you do it, you unlock the big broccoli or couch backpack.
Oh yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that's like a prepper 4 barter, and it's like a quest that's like really early on. I can't remember which one it is. I kind of want to look it up, but yeah. Anyways, interesting change that they done nonetheless. I think.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. It's like it's pushing people even further. It's like that this wipe has got. It's like kind of what I've said to other people about this wipe in general. Like nothing has changed and everything has changed at the same time. Like the
Hmm.
game broadly feels the same, but just like the whole structure of the game functionally has shifted in such a way, right? With the lack of all the level 5 and 6s on the flea and all of the high tier ammos on the flea, and then stuff getting locked behind quests instead. It's kind of like pushing the traders and the quests like even harder. BP was always
Yeah.
locked behind quests previously, but now it's like so many things. Like you say, the ASCPC, people are saying is behind like this, Peacekeeper, one of his quests is quite late on. Um, it's an interesting change. I'm not sure at the moment. I'm kind of in the state of like, I'm just going with it and we'll just see. And I guess if you have enough quests, I kind of like in some ways that there's a lot of quests because you can kind of pick and choose the rewards that you want based on the things that you do,
Hmm.
which I think is sort of all right. Like it's more annoying for me when it's like super linear and you're like, well, I want this thing, but it means I need to do these 8 quests in a row. I kind of like a branching tree where, there's especially sort of later on where there's like maybe a couple of quests in a row maybe, but there's like 3 or something, but there's like lots of different branches. So you say, well, I want this, so I only have to do these 3, or I want to do this one, I have to do these 3. It's less appealing to me if it's like, oh, well, I want to get the ACPC, but it's 15 quests in a string. You think, well, it's just too far, right? I'll get it later. I'll pick something else that's like an easier path. So depending on, I haven't actually looked to see exactly what is where and how those paths kind of work in terms of progression when you get them, like what you need to complete to get there. And with these new
Hmm.
Lighthouse ones, it kind of looks like, we've both got a ton of quests on Lighthouse. I've got loads in there that I haven't even started or really looked at, but that's much more like what I'm saying, where you can pick and choose whichever ones you want out of there because you just get like all of them unlocked just by level, it seems. I'm sure there's like ones that are one moves on to another, but I don't think it's anywhere near as deep as some of the traditional quests in the game, like Prapple's original quest line and then all of the ones for Punisher. Um, I imagine it's probably not like that, but we'll have to see. It's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I don't know right now whether I think this is good or bad to have the stuff locked behind the tasks. I'm my I don't know. The jury's out on it at this point. I don't really have any
Sure.
strong feelings either which way. Maybe it makes it slightly more interesting. Maybe. But I'm not
Hmm.
100% certain yet.
Yeah, I agree on that point. We should. We had a call in
Oh
one
yes.
of our viewers, and I think it's since we're talking about progression stuff, I think it'd be a good opportunity to share that with everyone. And yeah, we can see what they have to say. Do you have the clip, good sir?
I do. I do. Should we use our super high technological
Yes.
solution that we have of the 3, 2, 1 go? How about
Yes, we
that?
should.
Okay. Well, let's start playing the clip now then.
Cool.
Morning, guys. Jumble Still Skin here. I just wanted to speak about the inertia feature, really. I love it. Really, really good. It really rewards players like me because I tend to be one of these people that move from cover to cover. I plan my route through the map, especially things like woods, places like woods, customs. I know exactly where I want to go and where my cover is. I've caught out so many players with the inertia feature where I've managed to get a shot at them. They haven't been able to react because they can't stop on a dime anymore. And that is so important now that when you get shot, you need to know where your cover is because turning, stopping, it's just too slow now. You need to be able to just leg it straight to the next cover and try and get safe. Anyway, guys, another great podcast. See you later.
Cool.
Cool.
That was Jump on Silskin. Thanks for calling and send that message. You want to get featured on the show, feel free to hit us up on anchor.fm/ScavTalk and send us a message. So Inertia, yeah, man. I kind of feel similarly in that the core what he was saying there is, you just get, man, you're out in the open, you get shot, you get heavily punished now because you just can't. We talked about this for a little bit, but my thing with the old system, the old movement was just that it was, I don't want to say too easy because not everyone's like, maybe this is your first FPS game, but in my opinion, it was just like the default was like tap, strafe left and right and shoot people. Now it is a little bit difficult, because I think the difficulty part, like I've heard some people describe, the new Inertia is great for players like me. And I think what they could mean by that, I might be wrong, but I think that the old system, because you could instantly go, left or right instantly, if you had two players that were like close up and they were strafing back and forth and they were shooting each other full autoing with like the blurry vision when you get hit, your gun getting kicked up. Plus, you gotta like you're trying to track them, which is like insanely hard because they're literally moving instantly in the other direction. Like 90% games don't work like that. If they do, it's usually not like Tarkov guns. It's usually like Quake, like rocket launchers, laser beams. It's different. So you have to like you're trying to track them, which is insanely hard, and you're also trying to do that while you're also strafing. So like for like extremely high skill players, I could see how they could like build up that skill set. It's still really hard, but and then now that that's gone away, it's like made it way more accessible, I guess, because yeah, I mean, even, I don't consider myself like a god game. Well, I am a god gamer, but I'm not like the god gamer, okay? You know? But but it's very hard to track people when you get in those firefights, and because of the blur vision and your gun getting knocked up, it can kind of feel like a coin toss. But I think now it's now that's gone away. I don't know. I think it's better, and I think that's what people mean is that before it was like at the very top level, it was just like really hard because you had like this really crazy mechanic, and it was really busted. But it also made it really hard to fight those people at the same time. Whereas now that that's gone, you get super punished, man. If you white peak and you don't kill them, basically, you you're punished. So, and I like that. Like I like how it's taken that broken, I don't think that was ever meant to be in the game, but it's taken that and sort of like corrected it where now you're going to get punished assuming that they hit their shots. And I think that's definitely made the game better. I've actually been really surprised that a lot of people saying that they like Inertia, like from every range. Um, I think like day one there was a lot of like adjustment difficulties, but yeah, the general consensus from what I've seen has just been like, yeah, this is a great thing, and I think a lot of people like it because it does sort of like make the firefights a lot more interesting and not just like jiggle spam whoever holds mouse one and tracks better first. Like it makes I don't know. So yeah,
Yeah,
good
it's
stuff.
it really has changed the game up. I mean, now that we've had like some serious time to digest it, and everybody's got used to it, it doesn't feel like you're piloting a boat anymore. Um, Dude, I was like editing some footage. Actually, it reminded me because I was actually doing I've got like some clips in there from the VPO, and I'm actually talking about like doing the thing on factory, which I've ended up already
Hmm.
doing, and I haven't actually released the video yet, which is kind of funny. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that because it's kind of like the timeline's now in the wrong sequence because I didn't expect to get to that quest so soon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was editing some footage from Last Wipe because I was like, oh well, I don't have that footage yet, so I'll look at it from Last Wipe. And I was like, have I like sped? Because sometimes I speed up my player for like doing certain things. And I was like, is my player sped up? And I was like, oh no, everything's actually normal speed. And it was literally just watching back like 12. Have you watched back any 12-11 like close range fights like now after playing 12-12 for a while? Dude, it's freaky. It's freaky watching it. I genuinely thought my player was on 1.25 times. Genuinely. Like I was looking
Dude.
in the controls to see where I'd sped it up, and it was at normal speed. And I was astounded. I was like, okay, I feel like I've got used to inertia now already. And watching how it used to be, like it is mental. It's actually really, really crazy how it was. Like it was a VPO fight with APM in office and around the stairs. And like the dudes like we're just like jiggling through doorways. Like it was just like crazy. I mean it's super this is the thing, like it's super high octane. I think some people have said that it changes the game and that the high tier, like the really, really high end fights, especially ones on like labs or whatever, are not as like high octane as they were. I don't think, and I don't like I'm not a super high skill player, so I'm not really qualified to talk about this. But I can't imagine that it's going to be less skillful. I just think it changes the way that the fights kind of like look and play out. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like there's still enough skill ceiling in there for the good players to differentiate from lower skill players, which is fine. Maybe at the top level, maybe it is slightly less. I don't know. Well, you'd have to ask somebody like Glorious or Landmark or somebody who's like actually cracked and insane.
Mhm.
But I do think it makes the fights more like real in some ways. Like it was fun. Like I mean, I honestly I was a frequent visitor of Glorious's Twitter feed front page and watching his jiggle peak like one taps because they were absolutely
Yeah.
insane to watch. Like it was great content to watch. But like to be on the other end of that, it's just like it's not really a firefight, right? It's like someone just like he's got very, very, very good at it, and props to him for basically finding an extremely efficient way to deal with your enemies. Like they don't even see you on the
Yeah.
screen. It's kind of a combination of the lean being incredibly quick and desync and all the other stuff in EFT, right? It's a combination of all those things together, which makes it incredibly effective tactic if you're a good player and a good shot, and you can predict where your mouse is going to be after you do the lean. You lean the tiniest crack of them appears and you fire and then they're dead and they don't even see you. Like it's mental. I've definitely seen some clips from the other side of players where like they're literally in the corridor and they hear someone and then they stop and they peek out and then they just die. And you don't like they don't even appear for a single frame. So all of that stuff has kind of gone away. And I think the Pika's advantage thing, I haven't heard anybody talking about Pika's advantage for a little bit. Maybe because we've been distracted with other stuff and with the new wipe and all the new features that are coming. But I tried to peek somebody with the jiggle peek lean and I got my face torn off. So it is nowhere near as strong as it used to be. Like you can't just like peeking at free shots on people anymore. The peak is slow enough that like if they are set up in a position, Pika's advantage or no Pika's advantage, right? They can still shoot you in the head and you will die because they're already lined up. You've still if you're peeking, you've still got to predict where they're going to be. Unless you're really, really, really good, then you might have to adjust your aim slightly. And that small, like tiny microsecond of a delay, regardless of ping, ends up with me getting killed. So it feels better. I think the fights feel more realistic, and it's kind of as you were saying with the wide swings. Like before, you could kind of you were at the corner and then you pre-fire and pull out, and then as you're halfway through the mag, you then just insta turn around and pull back in again, and the mag finishes, and then you're back behind the wall, then click click. Whereas like now it's like when you wide swing, you've then got that whoa period, and it's like it's so much harder to move back in. You don't get as much of a wide swing if you take it slower, so you don't get to take as much advantage from like your swing in the first place. Like everything's just toned in and reeled in. And basically what Jumble was saying in his actual message to us, which is kind of rounds the whole thing off, is that like I think just like playing cover is even more important. Like I've always been quite mindful of cover. You're moving through the map, you're saying right, move from this tree to this tree to this tree. Before though, I used to sprint through some areas, and now I'm kind of like skirting round tree lines, making proper deliberate pathways because the relative distance of cover has been increased because player movement is now more clumsy. Cover is actually further away, even though the map's the same. Does that make sense? Like if you decreased all the PMC speeds if you like half the PMC speed, the relative distance of cover would double. And in that vein, because PMC movement is slower, you lose stamina when you get shot. If it's hard to change direction. You hit a bloody Bush. I still think bushes are slightly too like they're too overtuned a little bit. I still think they are, but yeah, it's changed the whole way that I play like through those areas. And again, it's like more about self-preservation and stuff. So it's I think it's good. It's like it feels Tarkov-y, feels more Tarkov-y. It feels less like, you know,
Yeah.
high octane, crazy gaming, jiggle peek, lean in, 80 strafe in, doorway, shooting full auto, spraying, whatever. It's combined with the recoil changes and things are really slowing down and kind of getting to a good state. I think it's good. I think that's why so many people like it.
I definitely feel that sentiment that you said is I feel like moving to cover is like super important. And I felt it in my own gameplay. Like I was moving from customs like gas station towards the checkpoint, but I was like along like not on the wall side in between the pipes, but I was, on the street basically. And I was sprinting from cover to cover. Whereas before I felt like I could have just full sprinted. And if I get shot at, no big deal. I just spam AD and fire back. You know what I mean? And I like that that's gone because I do feel like that was not a good. That was, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but I just feel like that was the default, the de facto thing to do. Whereas now you can't do that, so it makes way more sense. And I want to also say when you're talking about, you know, before you would like be behind the wall in factory, peek out, swing out, full auto, and then come back, right? And it was, I think before, since there was no inertia, when you were the guy holding the position, right, and sort of watching that angle of the guy that's about to peak, it felt really bad because they would do it so instantly. It's like you had to be like Shroud, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your reaction time was insane. Like whereas now they're actually going to get punished if in that first swing they don't kill you. You're going to have time to react, which feels much better for the guy holding the angle because I feel like the meta before was like, dude, just sit behind hard cover and then like jiggle peek until you see them. Once you see them, just full auto spray and peek again. So I want to say that majority of the high school players would have the opinion that it's like better for the game and that it is more skill based because as I said before, I just felt like these up close firefights where you just like try to track each other and spamming AD and all the blur and shit that goes on the screen, like it just kind of felt like a coin flip. So now that's kind of like been reduced, and I like Inertia. I do have a lot of like criticisms and some very interesting findings.
Oh.
So I'll try to be brief. The first one is there is no inertia on your forward and backward movement. Well, let me say like this. I think there's acceleration, but there's no deacceleration. So
Okay.
what this means, why is this, it's like, oh, okay, that doesn't really seem that important. Well, what you can do is shout out to Chief GG for showing this as well. I don't think he does it, but it's just an interesting finding that he shared. So what you can do is, let's say you're behind cover, okay? So typically you'd be facing the cover, right? So now you face 90 degrees to the right and you look to the left, like you tilt your character down a little bit. You tilt your head to the left so you kind of get like, at the corner of your screen you can see down the hallway, right? Whenever you peek, but you're still behind cover. So you hit W, you peek, and then you hit S and you come back out. And there's not that like that Bodhi like whoa where you sort of like slowly transition. It's a lot more instant, like forward backward. So it's like I don't know. It's just like kind of a weird thing because why doesn't that exist for like forward and backward? Like I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe they separated out the inertia system for forward and backward. Like they intentionally did it. I don't know. I want to say like I keep coming back to like Counter-Strike or CS:GO when I think about inertia. Like it all just feels very fluid no matter what direction you're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like Tarkov just feels very different. Like I like the concept of inertia, but I just wish like it was implemented better. Like I want to see it improved. And the other, so that's one trick. The other trick I notice, and maybe this is not necessarily a trick of inertia, but just like a fault of the game, like the engine or whatever. If you're strafing left, so you hold down left, and if you hold down D, well, okay, so if you're holding down A, which is moving left, and then you get to full speed, and then you hold down D, you will do like a weird stutter step to the opposite direction. You sort of like skip that deceleration phase.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that only works on the left side. You can't do it on the right side. So like if you try to hold D and then hold A, you'll keep strafing right. Nothing will happen. Even if you let go of D and then hit A, you'll get that sort of like Bodhi feeling. But it's very odd, like there's I don't know. And I was like kind of practicing it, and I think too that you could potentially strafe left. So you hold left, and then when you're about to hit the corner, you lean, hit Q, and then you also hold D, and then you hit Q again to sort of do like a very quick lean peak. I don't know, but there's other things I notice. Sometimes when I'm running up a hill or down a hill, my stamina will like reduce, and I think the game thinks that I'm falling, so
Oh,
I
really?
lose like a little bit of stamina. Yeah, I've
Hmm.
noticed a few times, but
I didn't notice that in mine. Yeah, the only thing that I've continued to notice, and I've actually sort of subconsciously been getting better at, is what I talked about right at the beginning, where I noticed that it's sort of maybe it's something similar to what you were talking about the fact that there's inertial deceleration seems to be different to inertial acceleration for some reason. Maybe, I mean, it's sort of related, but it's that thing of what I was saying last time about if you go from full strafe to full strafe the other side, you get the Boaty effect. But if you let go and stop and then continue, you cut out some of that like wide swing lean. And I've definitely been finding myself using that a bit more. So I'm like, it doesn't work. It seems if you're pressing any other key. So if you're still pressing forwards and you go to one side and go to the other side, you still kind of get the sway when you're moving. But if you're like stationary and you're kind of like around cover or whatever, and you're having like a twitchy gunfight with somebody around a small piece of cover, then yeah, if you go like you strafe and you move out of cover and then you let go of strafe and then you start pressing the other side, if you make that gap long enough, it's much faster than like going from one strafe to the other. I think I spoke about this last time or two episodes ago or something. But
yeah,
I've definitely been subconsciously just like doing it more by accident. Or like I don't know, it's just kind of like I know it's faster, so in my brain it's just like I'm not really working on it in purposefully. Does that make sense? Like it's just happening. It's happening more because like I'm
yeah,
just kind of muscle memory is kind of kicking in, and it's like okay, well if I let go of the key and then press the other key, I get a faster swing than if I just hold the one and then I just go straight to holding the other. It still feels different and strange. So maybe that's still happening with forwards backwards too. It could be the same thing. I don't know. Or maybe it just doesn't exist if you hold like W and then you press it and then you hold S. Maybe it doesn't exist. I'll have to test that one out. I'm not actually not checked out forwards backwards. So it's just this strafing one that I've been sort of just like observing, I suppose, while I've been playing. But yeah, it's funny that they didn't do it in a way that was, you would argue, maybe more simple. I think they went potentially through like lots of different tests to just kind of feel what's good. And we spoke about this before about like the semi-auto change, right? That you can make very small tweaks that make very radical like user experience differences. So the way that
hmm
people perceive the way that it's implemented can change quite a lot depending on just like very small values and things that from a sort of code level, I guess, don't necessarily look that important. So going through the iterations that they did in ETS to get to where we are now, I'm sure they'll probably make some more changes. Like I still think they need to make the inertia slightly less when you're moving forwards at full walk. Um, I think it feels fine when you're sprinting, but I still feel it's a little too because like when you're actually like jogging or whatever, you're kind of like not that you're able to turn more easily, but you're already kind of in motion. You know what I mean? So you can like push off because you're already kind of semi jogging because like the full speed PMC thing is like it's a fast walk, but when you're in motion, you can kind of like change direction a bit more easily than like, if you're like stood still. If you're stood still and you're not moving anywhere, then like yeah, it's going to take you a bit of time to like get into gear. Do you know what I mean? I know it feels slightly off to me still, but I think look honestly, I think like 97% of it I'm okay with. I think it just needs minor tweaks. I don't think it's all that bad. I really think it's okay as is.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, the Bodhi thing is just odd because it's like it. You're talking about skipping that part, and um, yeah, I think there's something like it almost feels like force. Like it's not like I'm actually de-accelerating. I know that sounds weird, but it's just like it's like when I let go of the key, it's like okay, play the like it feels like when you're strafing right and then you try to go left, the boat thing always happens.
Mhm.
And it's like doesn't matter when I do the opposite direction. It's just like it always plays that motion, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would say definitely check out the forward backwards strafing because that's a really interesting thing. Like I'm probably gonna try to implement it a bit more because it actually seems pretty useful. Potentially. Uh, the other one is definitely check out just hold A and get to like full speed and then just hold D and you can just like repeat that over and over and you'll do like these weird like stutter. It's like you're bouncing back and forth. Like it's super weird. It's not that useful because you're left side peeking, but it's very weird. Very weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that was a long topic. What else you got, Giga?
I guess we shouldn't go on too long. I'm probably going to go need to get some rest. But like we touched before, I actually found I found the article while we were talking previously about like the different tiers of scav, which I think is an interesting topic because I think we touched on it before, but like kind of thought about it a bit more, and you've got like the regular scavs, and then you've got like the medium
Mhm.
scavs with like 540 HP and 40 head, and tier 3 scavs with like 470 HP, and they do still have 40 head. But I think I don't
Hmm.
know the problem. Like I was chatting a bit about this to chat yesterday as well during the stream, and I just don't like that it kind of messes with your expectations as a player in like a bad way. Like I don't there's certain elements of the game which should be like you dealing with situations you've never seen before, and you dealing with like random events from happening and like how you deal with them in the moment kind of defines you as a player. That's fine. But what I don't like about this is that it kind of like it skews some of those basic like heuristics that you have about like the way the game is played, the way that rounds deal damage, the way that penetration occurs. Like you can't really tell. Maybe we'll get better at it because apparently they have better gear and stuff. But like you can't really tell which tier of scav it is. When a scav ends up getting like if they've got 150 chest, right, and you've got an NP7, it takes a long time to kill somebody. It's really
Yeah.
surprising, and like all of your all of the expectations that you've built up. I think this is the problem because you kind of get used to spotting what armors other characters have, right? Scav, player,
Right.
MC, whatever,
Right.
and you kind of then like what you've brought in because you've brought it in for a particular purpose to defeat certain types of armors. And you kind
Right.
of know what you're capable of, right? But then when you come up against someone with 150 chest with a level 3 on, and you should kill them in 3 shots, and they're still standing up, it just messes with the like. It messes with
Right.
your like. It's not even muscle memory, but it's like your mental muscle memory. Does that make sense? You're like, well, that guy should be dead, and he's not. Why
You're
is this? It doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, it's just weird.
the model that the game is built for you. So like, you do an action, the game, processes that action through the rules and it puts out feedback to you.
Mm.
You have like all that experience and then with this change, you're like, what? It just like completely screws up your model. And as you're saying, the worst part is the feedback you get is that they didn't die. There is no like visual indicator that this is a stronger scav or anything. Like you just have to like it's nice because let's say you go against Rashala or a Gluhar, you can tell that they have different clothing, they have you can see their armor, and after a few experiences, you know that they're tankier, right? And it's not like their values change randomly.
Mm.
Whereas with the scavs, they have like I don't know, they get progressively harder. See, I feel like at the start of the raid, I shot a scav in the head. Maybe I hit his helmet actually. That might have been it. I might have hit his helmet. He may have had a helmet on. But anyways, it does sort of like I get what you're saying. It like kind of like breaks your mental model of the game. So it makes it feel less I don't want to say predictable, but
Consistent.
like yes, that's the word. Yep.
Yeah. And we were talking about it as well. I don't think anybody's done any super. I haven't seen it anyway. If they have, there's a gap for people to do some testing on the round drop offs, because if scavs have 40 HP on the head, or a lot of them do, because it looks like basically tier 2 and tier 3 both have 40 HP. So only the beginning easy scavs have got 35, like any other PMC. So that's messes with your stuff anyway. And then also if you're fighting people at range, I mean, there's lots of rounds that don't
Yeah.
have all that much damage, especially as you start getting higher, right? BT has 44 damage. You know, if the guy's wearing a helmet and you shoot him from 100 meters in the head, will he die? I don't know. Is there four damage of drop off? Maybe you might hit 39.
Yeah.
And then the game starts feeling really weird, right? Like you use the round, get a pen, they've got a level 4 helmet on, or class 4 helmet or class 3 helmet or something. You're just like, okay, this guy's gonna die if it doesn't ricochet. You shoot them in the head and they don't die. You're like, okay, this just feels scuffed now.
Right.
And then you don't know whether the game's broken. You don't know whether it's you. You don't know whether you
Yes.
missed. You don't know whether hit reg is off. You don't know whether it's desync.
Yep.
You don't know whether it's the scav HP, the drop off, or whatever. It starts to become like there's so many potential things interlocking.
Yeah.
It makes it really, really it makes it really problematic. I don't know. I'm going to be fascinated to see what people do with the testing. Maybe I'll event like it's one of those things I just feel like I won't get around to doing, but I'd be interested to see like what the drop off actually is at 100 meters in terms of like penetration and stuff, and how much that actually impacts it. It's really hard to test, which is why I won't do it, because it takes forever and it's like really difficult to actually get like a proper simulation, you know, a controlled environment to make it work. But it's like, yeah, well, M855A1 with 46 damage, will that kill a scav in the head from like 200 meters? It's hard to know. Probably, but you don't really know. And it's like, yeah, it's that inconsistency for me that I don't like. I don't mind, yeah, random things happening, people adapting, that's fine. But inconsistency means that you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't even really predict then. It's a bit like if they just like stripped all the penetration numbers out of the game, they never had them in there ever. Well, like you're not making interesting choices then, because you just don't know what anything does. And there's not really any good way to test it either. So you're just like, it's just guesswork. Maybe you go and like, you know, read the description or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. I don't feel like you necessarily have like the tools as a player to like understand that situation.
For sure.
Your analogy about the bosses is perfect, right? Because you know they're harder. You're going after them specifically. Or if you do run into them, they have different voice lines. There's a differentiation factor there. Whereas with the scavs, you just don't know. And it's just like, will he die in 3 hits? Will he die in 5 hits? Like, who knows? And my knowledge of the game and the armor, and like, you know, okay, well, like, he's wearing this armor and I've got these rounds, like all that knowledge
Puts
is
all
useless.
that into question.
It's just useless. You just only like it's just of no value, or it's of much less value than it used to be, which is kind of annoying. Like I actually almost am preferring fighting PMCs at the moment. Like I'm enjoying the scav difficulty, but like at least, you know, with PMCs, like everyone's got the same health and stuff, and like we're all playing by the same rules. So, you know, when you die, you know it's fair. When you kill them, you kind of know it's fair. I don't know.
That is a good segue into about AI, and I won't like talk about this topic too much because I think the podcast, they covered it in one of their recent episodes. And the AI does not play by the same rules as we do. And it's very frustrating because, you know, you shoot them, if you, let's say you black their legs, well, they can just full sprint. Like if you shoot them in the leg multiple times, they can just full sprint. They don't have inertia. They just run through bushes like it's nothing. Dude, this is probably the part that triggers me the most. As I see a scav from like 100 meters away. I line up the shot, right? And man, I wish I had a clip, dude. I wish I was recording. I was on shoreline. I went up to the weather station, and there's a scav like looking, you know, 90 degrees in the opposite direction of me. You know, he's like looking off in the distance. I line up the shot for the headshot with my shotgun. As soon as I get ready to pull the trigger, he instantly spots me. And then he instantly starts moving and to the right or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to line up the shot. I'm trying to track him. He starts firing at me. I take some shots. I'm like, okay, let me get behind cover. There's a bush. I'm behind the bush. He's shooting me through the bush. I'm like, okay, well, I guess he can see me through the bush. Like sometimes I think they've changed that a bit, but it seemed like it didn't work for this particular bush.
Usually they don't see you through bushes usually now.
Yes, I think that's the case. But so now I go back to peek him, and maybe this happened before, but he does this stupid freaking insta crouch, insta prone, insta stand up. And this is the part that really bugs me, is like, I don't know if that was by design or if that's a bug, but it's the worst freaking thing in the world, dude, because it's so inconsistent. You know, like it's so unrealistic. Like you just, I, I feel like this is hardcore in the game. Like if you are within, 15 degrees cone aiming at a scav, they will instantly spot you. I feel like that's hardcore in the game, and it's so annoying, dude, because it's just like it actually makes them difficult through means of inconsistency. You know what I mean? It's
It's
not like
like
they're
a way that a
actually.
human wouldn't play,
Yes, but yeah, I mean, I guess, but it's like it's basically kind of along the lines like they're like if I'm gonna aim at them right, I don't know if they're gonna instantly prone, instantly crouch, instantly run in a different direction, and with no inertia involved. Like, and it's just like, what do you, like you said, I would rather fight a PMC because the experience is just better. Like the scavs just feel broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Am
I know
I
what
am
you
I
mean.
speaking nonsense?
No, I do know what you mean. Like, this is the thing. I think in principle, like, I'm enjoying the difficulty of them, but some of the implementation's a bit weird. I have had like some of the insta proning and insta standing up scavs, and I think the my main annoyance with that is like, firstly, sometimes like because you're firing at them as well, right? So sometimes you think that they've died, but they just lay down because
Yeah.
like sometimes you can't really see. It's kind of hard to see. Like if you're fighting like around the edge of a bush or
Yeah.
something, and then they like, oh, they lie down, or they make a hurt sound, and then they lie down, and then you're like, oh my god, oh no, there he is, and it's just like way straight back up again, and it's just like super weird, and also like it's just I think it's potentially it's probably one of those things where it's like it was supposed to be that in certain areas of cover, scavs are supposed to lie down and then fire at you because they used to do that. They just don't seem to do that anymore. It seems that piece of coding is whatever gets cut off early, and they stand back up again and just do like the strafing thing that they do. So it's just a bug, I imagine, because they used to fire at you prone quite often, and I just don't think that that happens now. They always do this like weird
Yeah.
stand up like weird thing.
Good point.
But I've had some. I I quite like that they. I don't like them being able to spot you randomly for 90 degrees. Like what you're saying, it kind of feels inconsistent. It's like, okay, they're not looking at me. They can't see me. They shouldn't be able to see me until I fire. But most of the interactions that I've had, I've sort of like, again, it's one of those things. I feel like it's kind of getting there, but there just needs to be some more tweaks. Like I was fighting, well, I lined up a shot with some scouts on Scav Island, and I was actually really struggling to hit them because I was using 366 AP, and I maybe it was either me or the zeroing or the accuracy or something. I don't know, but I was like struggling to hit them anyway. So I'd like fired a shot, and they're like, well, they like were running, and I fired another shot, and then the guy goes like into the far house on like the very far right hand side, like goes in there. I'm like, okay. And then I like suddenly start like taking shots from the house. I'm like, oh my god! Like get behind the ambulance. Like I'm on the road, right? I'm on the main road by the
Yeah,
tunnel,
yeah.
and I was like, Jesus! Like the guy like shoots out my left arm, and so like you see him kit it back up, and I was like, I just can't see him at all inside the building. Like there's too much like fog and stuff. Like I just couldn't see the guy.
Yeah.
Get right to the end and extract, and then you can see because if you have like a black arm, you can always see what it is because there's some health to be healed when you finish because you couldn't heal it back to full. And yeah, the guy shot me with like 366 TKM out of the final house on the Scav Island, all the way to the ambulances on the road at Tunnel. And I was like, that's insane. But B, like I quite like it. I quite like that. As long as they don't insta kill you, I kind of think it's fine that they're not just like a free shot. And if you shoot at them, they'll like pinpoint you and fire back. So I think like there's some good and there's some bad to it at the moment. If they can iron out some of the bad stuff and like maybe just I was talking again with this to chat the other day. I'm actually okay with them just artificially turning down the chance of them just shooting you in the head, honestly. Because scavs are supposed to be there, like it's to enhance the game, It's like you want to be getting
Right.
shot at by scavs. You want scavs there. It's a bit like the zombies in DayZ. They're
Yeah.
there as like an annoyance. They're there to get in your way. They're there to make you give away your position to other players. Because the game's not about scavs shooting you, right? Like no one's playing the scavs. The scavs are AI. Like they're there to enhance the feeling of the game or whatever.
Right.
Getting instantly shot in the face from like 100 meters away does not enhance the game in any sense, right? It's like it doesn't feel more hardcore. It's just stupid. But getting like getting fired at like 3 times, like taking a leg shot, like having to try and like bandage in the middle of like random piece of cover and stuff, and then PMCs might be coming in. Like that's when it's cool. Same thing with sniper scav. I like them taking pot shots. Then people, oh well, sniper scav's shooting. Who's he shooting at? Someone over there. You know, it gives
Right.
information away, which I think is really
Yeah.
really good. But like some of these things, yeah, they do need to be kind of tweaked a little bit. But like I like how aggressive they are. I like how easily they see you. I like them being dangerous and scary. Like the that's the thing. The principle for me is there, and that's fine, and that's working. But I think, yeah, some of the actual mechanics and the implementation of like how they go about doing that needs to be adjusted, just to sort of like for gameplay reasons to make it feel a bit smoother. But I feel like the philosophy is on the right path. Again, like with all these things, I feel the philosophy is going the right way, and that's what makes me feel like,
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the principle is like almost there for me because I kind of worry that, like when they did the scav change where they do like these random actions, like that's like, they try to make the scavs less predictable, and I almost feel like through making them more obscure, they made them more predictable. It's like, oh, that's a scav because I hear him sprinting, skirting, reloading his mag. You know what I mean? They like did all these things to make them seem more
yeah,
unpredictable. But anyways, I pretty much agree with you in that everything you said about the gameplay, like having them to enhance the experience, and I just feel like how they behave, like this like proning, instant running stuff. I don't think that's a part of that. I hope that they don't see that as a part of enhancing experience because I just feel like that makes them difficult through means of what I would consider just bad design.
yeah. No,
So,
I 100% agree. Right, like if you shoot a scav in the arm, they should find it much more difficult to shoot back at you.
yeah,
Scavs should get jams like at all.
yeah,
Like at all. They should get jams. You should be able to
yeah.
like, push a scav. They should be able to get a jam, and you should be able to like run up in their face and kill them. You should be able to shoot a scav in the leg and then have them limping around. And I think I just don't think they should really. Well, maybe they can have painkillers that they have to use or something, but I think most scavs won't have them. So again, that's fine. You know, if you choose to pick a leg off or whatever, and then like that's kind of part of the tactics of being PMC and playing around them. Whereas like right now, yeah, they're just like immortal overlords with no debuffs whatsoever, with strange mechanics where they're lying down, faking death,
Yeah.
back up again, and then headshotting you from the 100 meters, which is just like it's just really really strange. It's quite funny you saying like things where it's a scav. These days, for me, it's just like it's a scav when you take one shot and the dude just literally runs like 200 meters in the opposite direction, and you're like, where'd he go? Like he doesn't even like try to take cover necessarily. It's like I was outside interchange in the kind of scav area over by the railway extract. It's like on the outside where there's like there's the tanks and whatever, and it's like near the car park. In that section where you always get those scavs in that part. And yeah, I was like shot one guy there, and he was just like, "Wee, off I go through the containers all the way at the back." And he was like, I found him like the complete other end, and I was like, okay, I kind of get it, but at the same time, like it's just so bizarre. They run for a long, long, long way. I like the leaning that they've got in though. The scavs do like if you're engaging them with them, then they'll lean around
Yes.
and stuff and like give you like cheeky peeks and things. That's cool. I like that. So
But they're not instantly, the next frame they're not instantly leaning.
yeah,
It's like they smoothly lean. And that's the thing is like I would rather them act more realistic and more human-like, more realistic, better AI, I guess you could say, play by the similar rules, and have their like accuracy increased or like their whatever, like even like their damage output increased by a little bit. Like I would rather that happen, even though that breaks a little bit of the rules, but whatever. Instead of these like random insta prone 360, nade throwing out of his butthole, sprinting back and like that stuff drives me up a while. Anyways,
I honestly, yeah, I got naded the other day by a scav, and I was like, "What?" I was like, I think I was running like a
really.
super budget, and it was just a normal scav in woods. I've actually seen some people getting naded a lot more by scavs recently, and I was at the Christmas tree on Shoreline down by the lumber
Mhm.
mill, and I was like, I'd killed some of the scavs there, and I was like looting them, and the scav came over the hill from lumber mill and was just like, "Oh," and was like, I saw him, and I crouched and was looking at him, and I was like, "What's he doing?" And then I just heard ding ding ding, and not like my whole body is just like all red everywhere. And I managed to kill the guy through all like the haze and stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like I really wasn't expecting that at all. They can be quite aggressive, like nading you if they have one on them. They will actually use it on you, which is kind of it's kind of fun. I've definitely had that happen before. I quite like that sort of like random stuff. Okay, actually, before I forget, question for you
Yeah.
though. What do you think about the rogue AI? How do you feel the rogue AI is? Because like even if you haven't necessarily, because I haven't played like a huge amount on Lighthouse, but like I've seen enough,
Right.
know enough about like what people are saying about it. Because a lot of people are not like keen on the way the rogue AI is. Like, what's your opinion on the rogue AI? Because I'll tell you mine, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, it's kind of hard because, as you said, I haven't played a ton of Lighthouse. I play a little bit of PMC and I played more Scav, but as of late, like these past 2-3 weeks, I've been doing a lot of questing on other maps. Even though I said I was going to play a lot of Lighthouse at start a wipe and enjoy it, I just this wipe is so juicy that I just want to like grind and get to all the fun toys. But it's hard also because I'm a bear. And
Oh,
as you know, they literally shoot across the entire map at you. So like you'll be in one of the cottages and just like it's pretty insane. So I really can't give a good opinion from stuff I've seen and other criticisms. I would say let's start with the regular scav AIs and work our way up there because like the boss AI is in like a fairly good spot. It would be nice if they also had inertia and also their legs got broken, they would limp, things like that. But at least they're not often instantly proning 360 no scoping. I find that the bosses are okay. It's the scavs that do these crazy actions, but I don't know, man. It like I said, it's kind of hard for me because I literally get shot across the map. So it's like I'm already kind of like skewed to say that I don't like that I'm getting shot from 250 meters away by MG. I'm not sure how realistic that is.
yeah.
I don't think he's got like a magnifying glass, like a monocle, looking through that thing. I don't know, but yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, so I haven't played a huge amount on it, but I've like seen a lot of what people have been saying about it, and I've tried it in offline a little bit just to kind of get a feeling for it. But like again, the principle for me, I don't know, maybe it's like a slightly controversial opinion that I have about them, but because the AI isn't as advanced as we want it to be for rogues, I I actually don't mind them being a bit silly now before they make them more sophisticated because they have already started increasing some of the AI actions. Like if you shoot one off an MG, I think Nice Guy was talking about this. If you shoot one off an MG, now another one might come and take the post, that kind of stuff, which is good. Just being able to formulaically go around
Hmm.
and like, shoot them all one by one in a pattern, and they're like just sit there and just wait for you to just kill them all is like kind of silly. But while that AI is still being developed, because I think it's a back and forth game between BSG implements the AI, they see how the player base responds to that, see where it's really formulaic,
Right.
AI is falling down, and then they change it. They're going to add some more layers that are going to fix it. I think that's the way. They
Yeah.
don't know exactly how it needs to be done best, right? A bit like secure container stuff. They didn't expect people to be doing the whole butt cycling thing to do 60 rounders
Hmm.
thing, and then you change it later. It's like the same with the AI here. And on that basis, because they're on Lighthouse, I do really sympathize with the bear thing, and I do think that needs to be toned down. But given they're on Lighthouse, they're only on one very specific map, they're in one specific place, you kind of have to be going after them to bump into them. I
Hmm.
don't mind regular scavs being turned down and being too easy because they're just supposed to be a nuisance anyway. But I'm more concerned about like Lighthouse rogues just being farmed as like loot pinatas and being easy because you kind of have to like choose
Right.
to see them. Do you know what I mean? I'd almost rather than be like broken and have to be like worked around and be really tough and actually just like have a chance of just like randomly killing you and like maybe you need to work in a big squad because like it's very difficult for me on my own to go and do anything with them really, which is one of the things that's kind of putting me off. 'Cause you have to kill so many of them before you can actually go in and get the loot. But like that loot's super juicy and should be juicy because it's hard to do. And
Right.
I just don't want it to be too easy for people to go and
Yeah.
like just super farm it and like oh yes, we just go in and bam this one, just like clean up through the map. Like I'd still rather there be like that danger of death and like not surviving, even if it's like a bit artificially stupid at the moment, with the idea that it's made better in future, that it's more realistic and more fun. Um, I don't know, like maybe it doesn't even
I,
matter because again, we're like it's a wipe and we're still testing, so I don't know, but like I just don't want them to be too easy. I feel like that's okay for normal scavs, but not so for rogues. That's kind of how I feel about it inside.
yeah. I mean, I like I said, I would rather them focus on the regular Scav AI and then try to like enhance the other AIs. And to your point, because if they make, let's say their rework just kind of breaks or makes them way too easy, then they apply it to all the AIs. All of a sudden, like raiders are just like staring at walls, and you just get free loot all the time. Like that would be really bad. So having it done first on the Scav would be more ideal. But I think Jesse was saying something like this. It might have been in the podcast or maybe on the stream or something. But it's having, instead of having them like instantly spot you and then instantly gun you down. If they sort of like spotted you and then like as they're like turning the MG, they're like shooting, almost like a more suppressive fire, like it's coming, because basically, you get shot at, you're spotted because there's bullets hitting your stomach from like a million miles away. You know what I mean? It's just like, what do you like? I don't know. Like I'm gonna, because I've heard they lower down their sighting distance. So I want to like try as a bear now and see how that feels. Because it was pretty like when I was playing, it was just like, dude, this is like crazy, man. Like it's crazy how far you just got shot at.
Yeah.
And I mean, the good thing is it's not like a laser beam. There is some inaccuracy, but like I think I got hit in the stomach and it's just like instantly blacked out. Red all over. Like it's pretty brutal. But yeah, I can see what you're saying, and I agree. I wouldn't want them to become so easy that it's just like free loot on the map, and everyone's just constantly over there,
Yeah.
farming,
It just
methodically taking them out one by one.
It kind of feels like if they had like too much of a wind up, then you just like lean around and shoot them with the Mosin in the head or whatever, like whatever, like Bolty or DMR.
Right,
Have to
right,
wind up. Like they kind of need to be like suppressing you directly, and with like, and you have the risk of actually getting hit, right? Like they're shooting you, but they're not killing you. Maybe they're hitting you in the arms or whatever. Like again, like maybe artificially, because you wouldn't know it from the client side, right? You like deprioritize
right,
the places where you actually fricking die, right? And just out
right,
like
right.
a chance, and like make it more, because yeah, as we said, like instantly dying is just like it's just not a good gameplay feeling when you're playing against the AI, but like them damaging you and then that being a function of like the heals you've brought with you. Did you bring enough CMS kits? Your stomach got black. Did you bring enough food? Do you have enough meds to sustain through like all of these shots? That kind of thing. That's more about preparation. That's more about the things you bring into raid. Like that's what the game's kind of supposed to be about, right? And like trying not to have your armor too damaged and trying to make a judgment call about whether you want to continue if your armor's like half dead or whatever, like kind of get another piece of armor before I carry on, rather than just like getting insta tapped. Obviously, everyone agrees that sucks, but like, I mean, I'm still okay with deprioritizing the like actual killing zones, or at least making it
Yeah,
a chance so you don't just like instantly die, because it's just like better for gameplay. But I feel like so many people are so good at just like lining up headshots and just taking them that any kind of like real wind up, because you see that with the raiders and scouts, what we have done in the past in older versions of the AI, where you just fight them really close and then you come around the corner. I mean, it's still kind of true where there's like a small wind up and you shoot them in the head when you come around the corner, and it's like it's easier to fight scavs, bosses, raiders from like point blank. It's when you're at like
hmm
25 to 30 meters,
yeah, that distance where they,
real kill zone. It's like it's
yeah,
ish for a human player to control the recoil in such a way to kill the scavs quickly, but scavs like lock on like super like crazy over that distance.
right,
So I feel
yep,
like there's almost like this kind of like, yeah, super close or super far away, and that middle section, which has always been dubious for playing against things like raiders, is now also applicable to scavs too. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. But yeah, so many people are just like good at taking advantage of that AI. Like I can see why they've overamped it for the time being. But it's just like, yeah, it's just such a difficult one. I don't know. Like maybe I'm gonna
well,
play a bit more Lighthouse, I think.
I think what you said is good. I mean, I think what, if you're gonna instant kill me, right, like instantly spot me and then instantly kill me, give me some time to react, aka the wind up period, right? If you're going to instantly spot me and instantly shoot me, don't hit my thorax. For me, like I think there's pros and cons each way. I don't know which
Yeah.
one's like better or whatever, but yeah, something like that. Either one of those two things or some other version of that, I would prefer, because I think it's, as you said, it's just not just, you know, it just feels like you're rolling a dice. Am I gonna get one tap, or not? I don't know. It just doesn't really feel like, what do you do? There's not really any play. There's nothing to learn.
It's kind of
Oh,
like
just got AI'd.
yeah, there's like another, there's like another mechanic, like if you think of Sturman, right? Sturman is like notorious for a while because he just like insta tap people. He does.
Yeah.
He has like the triple shot warning shot, that kind of thing. Like the rogues could like when they spot you, they could warning shot over the top of your head, easy. They don't need to instantly shoot at you, right? Like they even tell you a bear from 300 meters? Like,
That's the thing. It's
like give some
yeah,
warning shots or something. Like that maybe that work at like
yeah,
long ranges. Where they're not actually trying to kill you, because that's the way it works for Sturman. Like there's ways of doing it that are sensible. So
for sure.
we'll see. They're gonna adjust it over time.
One last thing.
One last thing.
I noticed so the Shoreline's got new extracts, right?
Yes.
Path to Lighthouse and then the railway.
Mhm.
Well, while I was doing my vitality training, I noticed the old extract CCP temporary, and I was like, oh yeah, that's where the raid series was at. And I was looking at it, and then I looked at the towers, and I'm like, there's mounted guns on there. And then I thought of like Shoreline, there's mounted guns on there with rogues. So I'm thinking, kind of putting the pieces together. The raid series, there's mounted guns there. Like, is that going to be a future expansion? Where there's going to be dudes up there, another rogue set of AI of mounted guns? I don't know, dude.
Behind CCP temp is terminal. Right.
That's what I understood. Yeah, yeah.
So the terminal map is going to be behind CCP temp, and that's coming, and it's going to be the last map because it's where you leave Tarkov. And yeah, I imagine you're going to need an item to get out, like the raid series, right? You might need like a labs access card or something to like get yourself out of that. I mean, it'll probably be a different item, I'm sure, but maybe you'll have to get it from one of the traders. I'm sure they're going to spin this web of like you having to visit like all the different maps and like piece together the stuff, go and get something from this trader, and then you can bring it, and then you have like you have to go and like buy your access card that's like forged from the guy, so you can like go through and like swipe the thingy, because like they get shot at by the mounted machine guns in the raid series, right? When the guy tries to use the thing, like, does he get like is it a card, like a plastic card thing to swipe it? I can't remember what it is, or maybe it's like a ticker sort of like punch card thing. I can't remember, but he gets that from the dude, but it then doesn't work and they shoot it. Right? Kind of funny, but yeah, they've changed the modeling of the whole like of that whole area. I wasn't confident enough to know that there wasn't a minefield still there in front, but the whole thing's changed, right? And there's like the train now like goes into the side, and it just like the wall is like more extended, like it just looks different now, and it looks more like the raid series does. And it's like it's actually kind of cool. I noticed this too, and I was like, huh. And I've been meaning to go around in offline and have a little look at it, and just see, because I think you might be able to see more of terminal now than you used to be able to, but I haven't confirmed that yet. So let's see. But yeah, I mean, there's mounted machine guns there. There may well be other factions there. I don't know who would control the port. Not sure in the lore who controls the port to Tarkov. I mean, it could be like the Russian forces, the Russian army.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It could really be anybody. Could be skiers boys. You never know. Maybe they control all of terminal. Who knows? Maybe it could change. Maybe there could be like faction wars and stuff. Who knows? But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it all links up. I'm really excited to see like the bigger quests, man. I really am, and like I think I might actually put together something on like the interlinking of maps and stuff, because I've always find it really interesting, and I don't think there's actually a good one. And with the expansion of the expansion of the world map into Lighthouse, it's kind of cool because you can see reserve from Lighthouse, you can see shoreline from Lighthouse. And then there's this new feature. I don't know, like you probably noticed it, like just in the background in your mind, but like the new landmark from Lighthouse, which you can see on other maps, which is the broken suspension bridge on the northwest side of the world map. And you can now see that from reserve, you can see that from shoreline, and you can see it from Lighthouse as well. And I swear that wasn't there before. Like that wasn't there on reserve. They've like they've like post edited that back into reserve, so you can now see that.
Yeah,
it's like, those things just like really build the world up for me. It's just I think it's just fantastic. I really love it. I tried to go and look for Lighthouse from customs, and I couldn't because the hill is too big. So maybe somebody else can do it, but I couldn't find a way to like see anything of Lighthouse from there. But I don't know. But yeah, look, it's interesting seeing the remodel CCP temp and the path to Lighthouse extract and that kind of thing. Like remodel the maps so they're more interlinking, and there's more stuff with them being together and like looking more like the raid series. That's kind of what excited me too. I was like, this looks like the raid series. This is awesome.
Yeah. One last thing is gonna kill me. I saw a video posted by Jessica Zam about Lighthouse map guide, and It's a good video. You should check it out. I enjoyed it. It's like a basic overview and has some like strategy and stuff. But essentially, everyone's sort of like funneled up north, which is the rogue thing. Like, there's really nothing on the south side. Like, all the loot's kind of like, yeah, it's basically funnels you up. But once we get the Lighthouse trader, Jesse mentioned this in this video, he's on the south side of the map, and that should really make the map way more interesting because it's essentially a very long strip of map land, I guess, if you
Yes.
will. But since everything sort of funnels you up, now you would have like something funneling you down as well, which should make the map flow really cool and interesting. So I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do with the freaking Lighthouse trader. I can't wait for that, dude. That's gonna be awesome. And all the scav, supposed to be 4 scav bosses. Like, I'm so excited for that to come out. Can't wait.
It's gonna
Can't
be
wait.
good. It's gonna be good. I like it when it kind of like links from one map to another. Right? It's like if you can buy high explosives from him, and that's you can then go to streets with that and stuff. It's like
Yes, dude,
we've
that'd be
said it
so
before. It's
cool.
the player-driven story experience, which I'm excited for. It gives you those like bigger overarching goals that are hard to do. I think I must have. But maybe I spoke about this like a very long time ago. But like one of the single and like swear to God, this is like I actually genuinely do feel this way. It's like one of the best weeks of my entire life was basically when like there was a whole bunch of us who were playing like the original DayZ, and
Mhm.
all of our schedules just like combined, and we had like a week, and none of us had anything to do, and we basically just lived DayZ for a week, and we got the helicopter working twice, and you have to bring so many resources, and it was like days of planning, like going at night, like you have to get like all these panes of glass. There were so many bugs with the game. There's like panes of glass, like the engine. You had to have like jeeps to move the kit. Like it just took so
Yeah.
long to build up, and that kind of like big overarching goal, like the hideout and stuff, but it's like because it's kind of safe and secure, whatever you like build it up piece by piece. It's not
Right.
quite the same as like going into raid, going up to do the thing, right? And it's like
Yeah.
people will do those challenges like if they're kind of in the game. People make them up for themselves, like the snowball challenge or whatever. But like normally only like super end game guys who like have got nothing else to do that kind of stuff. So it'd be neat to have those kind of things that are sort of like in the game and let you then like make those adventures for yourself. It's the way for longevity, as we've said before. Excited.
Yeah, and we have a bit of that now with the flea market bans. If you want that killer armor,
Mm.
you gotta go find killer. That story of how I loaded into the map of interchange for some sweet justice against killer. Doing my Willen voice.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly how it goes. So it's a bit more like that. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, let's wrap it up. We went extra long. I think about 2 hours probably clocked in on this podcast, but there's a lot of fun topics, a lot of things to catch up on.
Always seems to be.
And yeah, no. Great, man. Cool. Any closing thoughts or words, Kigo?
Not really, other than I don't think I've ever gone from I can't remember what level I was before. I don't think I've ever gone from like level 22 or 23 to like 29 in the space of like 2 days. Ever before.
Yeah, that's a pretty big.
It's pretty good. And I
Pretty
did all
big
the
grind.
gunsmiths. I finally did the barter for the
Oh, did
RSAT
you?
and just went and that got me to 29. So that's good. Progression's going well. I'm enjoying myself. And yeah, I'm sort of like I've almost like leveled too quickly. So I'm like figuring out what to do next. That's another thing. I'm still like more in budget in my mind, but like I got the Bitcoin farm on the make at the moment. It's like in progress. And yeah, I'm like about to hit level 30. So that's gonna open up like a whole world of stuff. So we'll see. I've been using the MP7 a bit and a few other guns, but I'm waiting for Mechanic 3 so I can actually get some bigger max and stuff like that. So that will really open up the mid game, I think.
Yeah. Peacekeeper 3 and Mechanic 3 actually got some really good stuff on them, like really good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So no, it's good. It's good. It's been fun. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to more.
I did want to shout out someone, RJ. He sent us an email, and I laugh because how I have the system set up. Anyways, yeah, he did some fan art, which was really cool. I posted in the ScavTalk Discord. He says, what do you say here? Let's see. I usually put your show on while I draw. Couldn't think to draw tonight. Made this piece while listening to this episode with Sarcastic Brit. It's a shotgun wielding Ushanka wearing scav lining up head eyes on an unsuspected Chad near the river on Woods. Appreciate your work, both on YouTube and the podcast. Always insightful, entertaining. So thanks. Shout outs to that guy, dude, because it's actually really cool. I like it. And it's the current Discord logo for our Discord server, which is awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Mad props. Mad props.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up there. We'll catch you all next week, and good luck in your raids.
Catch you later.